November 15th, 2011 was in many ways the end of an era for my 10-year-old self, as it marked the ending of Ezio's story in Assassin's Creed. Many of you know, if you watched my other retrospectives, that I hold the Ezio Trilogy very close to my heart, as I enjoyed them a lot when I was a kid. Assassin's Creed Revelations very much marked the end of the franchise that I knew and loved. I really see Assassin's Creed 1 to Revelations as the golden age of Assassin's Creed. It was never quite the same after. So, as I've been doing every year for the past 2 years, we're here to do a deep dive retrospective into an Assassin's Creed game 10 years after its release. Or near enough to 10 years that I can do. You know how I am with these retrospectives. I can never release them close to the actual 10-year anniversary. It just never happens. I actually think Revelation's story is without a doubt the best written story in the franchise, with the other main contender probably being Black Flag. Coming back to Ezio, Desmond and Altair one last time has been a pleasure, and it's nice to experience these games again, reveling in the nostalgia and the fond memories I have playing these games. Whereas Assassin's Creed 2 is the story of accepting drastic change and facing your responsibility, and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood was about moving forward and protecting those who were defenseless against tyranny, Revelations is very much a more personal story for both Ezio and Altair. Assassin's Creed Revelations, as the title suggests, is about revealing something, whether that be revealing the truth to Altair's library, or revealing to Ezio that it is time to let the past go, and to say, I have seen enough for one life. It's crazy to think that Assassin's Creed Revelations is now over 10 years old already. I still remember being literally in primary school and telling my friend about the leaked Assassin's Creed Revelations cinematic trailer. I'm now turning 21 very soon. It's just weird to think that now the entirety of the Ezio trilogy is half as old as me. Anyway, let me stop rambling. Today we're going to take a trip back to 2011 to relive the memories of Ezio Auditore one last time, back to Constantinople in 1511 to find the Masyaf Keys, uncover the secrets of Altair's library, and to celebrate over 10 years of Assassin's Creed Revelations. I just want to say before we start this video that today's video is sponsored by MANSCAPED. Again, thank you MANSCAPED. You're allowing me to make money off content creation, so I appreciate that because I don't make anything from ad revenue. But I mean, I'm not promoting their products just because they're giving me money. Like, genuinely, I use my Manscaped products all the time. They're such high quality. And today we're going to be talking about their Performance Package 4.0. Manscaped were kind enough to send me one of these, and I've been using it now for a fair amount of time. And I've got to say, the novelty of the quality just hasn't worn off whatsoever. So first off, we have the main attraction of this package, which is the Lawnmower 4.0. It's such a good quality razor. It's really gentle and it doesn't cut you, and it's also really silent when it's on. I've never used a more quiet razor. Not only that, but it has this nice little light on the front that I really like because it's cool and also really useful if you're shaving your neck. Not to mention that it's completely waterproof, so you can use it in any setting, in the bath, in the shower, use it in a public swimming pool. I don't know why you want to do that, but you could do it and it wouldn't break. Genuinely, it's a really high quality product. I use it all the time and I don't think I'll go back to another brand because it's just that high quality. Now, next up in the package is the Weed Whacker nose trimmer. This is a great quality nose trimmer, same quality as the razor. It's absolutely brilliant, very silent when it's on. It's waterproof, easy to clean, easy to use, and it's just that nice little addition to your grooming products because, you know, everyone needs a good razor, but you don't really tend to think about the nose trimmer. So Manscaped have you completely covered in that regard. Once you get this, you will soon realize that you were missing this nose trimmer all along and that you don't want to go back to not using it. At least that's the realization that I had. Now, the next two products in the package are the Crop Preserver and the Crop Reviver. Now, these two products are intended for your balls, and it wouldn't be a very good ad if I just said that they were great without using them. So yeah, I shaved my balls and I used this shit on them. I felt like $1 million. Look, just get the package and use these on your balls, and they'll be gleaming and you'll be blinding people, and everything will just be right in the world. And you know, just because Manscaped are such good guys, they also include, for a limited time, 2 free gifts in the Performance Package 4.0, which is the free boxes and the Shed travel bag. Honestly, travel bag's great. I use it all the time. Definitely worth it. So honestly, what are you doing? Go to manscaped.com today and get 20% off and free international shipping, plus 2 free gifts when you use promo code LEF20 at checkout. I genuinely think if you're watching this, you should consider buying this package. It's genuinely really good, and I wouldn't promote a product unless I used it and really enjoyed it. So yeah, go get at it, and thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. There you go. Without further ado, we can get straight into the deep dive retrospective into Assassin's Creed Revelations. As is commonplace in every AC game up to this point, there's a story recap to briefly summarise the events of Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed 2, and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. I miss when this franchise used to care about continuity, so much so that they would always include a recap of the previous games to get you back up to speed on where the story is at this point. This particular recap is narrated by Subject 16, who has been a consistent enigma since the first game, which is all about to change because he is also a prominent character in this game. This recap is just really nostalgic for me because when I think of Assassin's Creed, I always think of this story with Desmond, Ezio, Altair, and the mystery of the ones who came before, and the classic Assassins versus Templars. Nowadays, Assassin's Creed barely resembles the series it once was in both gameplay and story, so it's just surreal to come back to these games and realise that the story and lore was once cherished by the writers. But I digress, we're not here to talk about the current state of this tired franchise. If you remember the ending of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, you'd remember that it ended on a huge cliffhanger. Desmond reclaims the Apple of Eden, but in doing so his body is taken control of by Juno, who forces him to kill Lucy. Now, a lot of people don't even know why Desmond kills Lucy in Brotherhood, and that's because it's only explained in the Lost Archives DLC. Lucy was basically working under the Templars in the end. She was part of Operation Siren, in which she infiltrated the Assassins under the guise of being an assassin who had been captured by the Templars and forced to work on the Animus project at Abstergo. This is a very strange plot point, and it doesn't really make sense. It's especially strange given the reason that Lucy was killed off is because the actress Kristen Bell wanted more royalty payment for her role as Lucy, but Patrice Désilets didn't want to pay her and in spite killed off her character. So in the end, Lucy's character was completely wasted due to a disagreement over payment. Although maybe it's good she died when Assassin's Creed was at its peak and not milked for nostalgia points over the years like Sean and Rebecca. Anyway, after Desmond killed Lucy in Brotherhood, he falls straight into a coma. William Miles, Sean and Rebecca hook him up to the Animus to stabilise his vitals, and this is where Revelations begins.
Okay, I shut down the Animus monitoring system to free up a lot of memory, but even like this, it's still risky.
Desmond will be fine. The partition worked, the Animus is stable, and his signs are good.
For now. But this was built to recreate memories, not simulate entire cognitive processes.
The Animus will do its part, and Desmond will do the rest.
What's happening? I can't move. I can't. No! Hello?
Just walk right past me.
16?
No, they didn't tell you my name.
Oh, God damn it, I'm still in the Animus?
Quite a shock you suffered out there.
Rebecca! Get me out of here.
They can't help you, Desmond. You're a broken man. Your mind, it's... broken.
Broken? I feel fine.
So did I.
Hey!
Look at me now! Let's talk, buddy.
Desmond has awoken in the Black Room, which is also known as Animus Island. This part of the Animus is basically a safe mode. Think of it as safe mode for Windows that you can turn on to securely use your computer when you're having issues with the operating system. Animus Island is the original test program for the Animus, the original code that was used to create these virtual worlds that we explore in the games. It consists of basic physics and weather simulation, rather than living memory data. The Animus was unable to support Desmond's crippled mental state after being taken over by Juno, killing Lucy and reliving so many memories of different ancestors so close together, and therefore decided to place him inside the Black Room to stabilize him. To exit his coma, Desmond must relive the remaining memories of Altair and Ezio to the point at which their lives converged, in order to allow the Animus to separate the genetic memories of Desmond's ancestors from his own. This is called a sync nexus. This will be explained briefly by Subject 16, but I thought I'd quickly go over it as he doesn't really go into much detail. All you need to know is Desmond's goal is to relive the memories of Altair and Ezio until he reaches the sync nexus and is able to wake up. Sounds like a pretty solid premise to a game, right?
There. That thing is your way out.
You're screwing with me.
Here's the problem. Your brain is hash. Too many ghosts in your head, too many voices. So how do you fix that? You claw your way back into the stored data, you find unfinished memories, and you crack them open. Finish what you started, until your ancestor has nothing left to show you. That is a sync nexus. And when you find it, the Animus can separate Desmond from Ezio and Altair and send you home, back to your body.
How do you know all this?
Because it happened to me. But my body, it's worm food now. So I'm stuck here. A word of warning? When you step through there, everything changes. Nothing feels normal. But you are still in control, and it's up to you to find your way out.
Right.
If you hurry, you might make it back in time for Lucy's funeral.
What?
Ah! Oh. I thought you knew.
Lucy. Oh, God. I'm so sorry. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was that voice. Juno. She took hold of me. She made me...
Claudia, my dearest sister. I have been in Acre a week now, safe and in high spirits, but prepared for the worst. The men and women who have fed and sheltered me here also give me warning that the road to Masyaf is overrun by mercenaries and bandits, not native to this land. What this could mean, I dread to guess. When I first set out from Roma 10 months ago, I did so with a single purpose: to discover what our father did not. In a letter written the year before my birth, he makes mention of a library hidden beneath the stones of Masyaf Castle. A sanctum full of invaluable wisdom. So what will I find when I arrive there? Who will greet me? A host of eager Templars, as I fear most strongly. Or nothing but the whistling of a cold and lonely wind. Masyaf has not been home to the assassins for almost 300 years now. Can we still claim it for our own? Are we welcome there? I am wary of this fight, Claudia. Not because I am tired, but because our struggle seems to move in one direction only, towards chaos. Today, I have more questions than answers. This is why I've come so far. To find clarity. To find the wisdom left behind by the great Altair. So that I may better understand the purpose of our fight. And my place in it. Should anything happen to me, Claudia, Should my skills fail me, or my ambition lead me astray, do not seek retribution or revenge in my memory, but fight to continue the search for truth, so that all may benefit. My story is one of many thousands, and the world will not suffer if it ends too soon.
Here we are, back with Ezio Auditore da Firenze one last time. Although in this game he's much older and wiser than previous entries, sporting new robes, a grey beard and a new goal to enter Altair's library and unlock its secrets like his father Giovanni wanted. Which means he has had to travel far from Rome to the once home of the assassins, Masyaf. I remember playing this for the first time and just being taken aback that we were playing as Ezio in Masyaf. It was such a significant moment, and I don't think Revelations could have picked a more perfect place to begin Ezio's last story. It's even cooler that I realised that there were eagle vision ghosts of Altair scaling the walls, leading you in the right direction. Ezio was briefly taken prisoner and stripped of his weapons by the Templars, as you saw in the introductory cinematic, so he scales the castle to find where they're being kept. Ezio manages to find his sword, but one of his hidden blades is broken. This is where we get our first little bit of combat, and as to be expected, the combat system in Revelations is pretty much identical to the one in Brotherhood, bar a few new animations, as well as the new slow-mo effect that activates upon killing the last enemy of a fight. I actually prefer Brotherhood's combat, to be honest, simply because a lot of the newer animations in Revelations are for some reason quite janky and slow, causing the flow of combat to be a lot less smooth compared to its predecessor. Regardless, the combat in Revelations is great and chooses to stick to the formula that works in Brotherhood, and I can't really blame them in this case. Ezio is currently trying to learn more about Altair's library and how to get inside. Upon entering the castle and taking out the guards, Ezio finds himself at the door to the library and greets a curious man standing next to it.
Be merciful, please. I am a working man with a family.
Doing what kind of work?
Digging mostly. It took me a year to find this chamber. And for the past 3 months I've been trying to break through this door.
You've not made much progress.
I have not made a dent. This stone is harder than steel.
I doubt you will. This door is guarding objects more valuable than all the gold in the world.
Ah, do you mean gemstones?
There are keyholes here. Where are the keys?
These Templars found one beneath the Ottoman Sultan's palace. As for the others, I suppose the little book will tell them.
What book?
A journal of some kind. That ugly captain, he carries it with him wherever he goes.
Go home. Find work with honest men.
Oh, I would love to leave this place. But these men, they will murder me if I try.
Pack your tools.
After learning about the keys to Altair's library, as well as the book that is carried by Leandros, the captain of this Templar expedition to Masyaf, Ezio sets off to find him. This leads to a classic tailing mission in which we follow a group of Templars into the lower village using Eagle Sense to find Leandros. Eagle Sense was the new take on Eagle Vision at the time. It was explained that Ezio had become so proficient with Eagle Vision through lots of repeated use that he mastered it, and it truly became a sixth sense for him, allowing him to track the movements of people before they even carried them out. From a gameplay standpoint, this means we can now track the movement of groups of guards to better plan stealth attacks. After following the guards, they lead us straight to Leandros.
None of you leave until the assassin is dead. Do you understand?
Ignore me, Kirilo. He seems to have found us.
Panic! Panic!
with Ezio grabbing onto the rope that is dragging behind Leandros' carriage. This leads straight into a chase section in which Ezio has to frantically climb the rope whilst avoiding obstacles. It's pretty hectic. Ezio finally makes it to the carriage and climbs aboard, only for Leandros to leap to another carriage, causing the one that Ezio is on to crash. Luckily, Ezio grabs onto a third carriage and takes it for himself, chasing Leandros further. This section is a recurring thing in Revelations where you're in control of a carriage and have to ram other carriages out of the way, although this isn't the first time a carriage set piece has been used in the Ezio trilogy, as in both Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, you have to drive a carriage to escape with Leonardo to Venice, and when stealing and destroying the machine gun from the Borgia in the Leonardo's Invention side missions. Ezio finally reaches Leandros' carriage and rams him, only for a Templar guard to throw a bomb under the wheel of Ezio's carriage, propelling him off the mountain.
Take your eyes off this road for a moment. Do you understand me? Nothing gets through.
Leandros! There!
Well, well. Look what crawled out of its hole to die. He's at death's door. Finish him off. Bring me his head, or throw yourselves into the canyon!
Ezio easily dispatches the guards and heads in the direction of Leandros, using his eagle sense to track his footprints through the village. After some searching, he finally catches up with him, and the Templar captain is backed into a corner.
Could it be that you are every bit as deadly as the legends say? Or am I in charge of an army of drunks swinging sticks? Right this way, Ezio. Nowhere left to run now!
Not for me, and not for you.
Kill that dog! Cut him down!
I've always loved the line, "not for me and not for you." The delivery is just so badass. This is an Ezio who's been through it all. He isn't afraid of high-risk situations like this, and he knows Leandros is afraid of him, and so he locks the gate to the courtyard, locking Leandros in there with him, with nowhere to run. Ezio kills the remaining foot soldiers and acquires some medicine, healing the wounds he took from the fall. This allows him to scale the wall of the tower that Leandros is hiding in, although he also must dodge incoming fire from the riflemen posted around the courtyard. After a long climb under fire, Ezio reaches the top of the tower and confronts Leandros head on.
Don't you ever stop howling.
Well, the old hound still has a bite.
The book you carry, where is it?
Niccolo Polo's journal. This will do you no good. Not now. We have found one of the Masyaf Keys already, and are closing in on the rest.
What is in that library is not for you, not for the Templars.
You can have Altair's books, Ezio. We only want guidance. We only want directions. To the location of the Grand Temple.
Grand Temple? Tell me more, now! Requiescat in pace, bastardo.
With Niccolo Polo's journal, the Secret Crusade in hand, and knowledge of what may lie inside Altair's library, Ezio leaves Masyaf and heads for the great city of Constantinople. Desmond wakes up once again on Animus Island and is greeted by Clay. The Animus keeps repeatedly bringing Desmond back to the Black Room as a failsafe, as whenever he actively relives his ancestors' memories, the Animus may think he's a virus and delete his consciousness. Clay is keeping the Animus systems occupied whilst Desmond searches for the Sync Nexus. Up until this point, Clay seems quite suspicious and sinister, but it is here that his true intentions are shown. He simply wants to help Desmond return to his body, as he was once in Desmond's situation and failed, leaving his consciousness stranded within the Animus code with no way out. He's trying to save Desmond from his unfortunate fate, and it's within Desmond's best interest to trust him. Anyway, with that out of the way, it's time to head back to the memories of Ezio to see how the game progresses once he reaches Constantinople.
Dear sister, Masyaf is overrun by a battery of Templars, and their motive is clear. They desire the secrets locked away in Altair's library. Secrets they believe will lead them to something called the Grand Temple. Whether or not this is true, I do know the library is real. I have seen its door for myself. But none can enter, Not without 5 keys which were sent to Constantinople with Niccolo Polo almost 300 years ago. Claudia, I must find these keys. The Templars have already located one, and I do not know how difficult it will be to find the others. Only time, skill, and a bit of luck will tell. Magnificent sight.
It is a work in progress.
No city in Europa has a skyline quite like this.
Well, to be precise, that is Europa. That is Asia.
Ah. Some borders even the Ottomans cannot move.
Very few. You are Italian by the sound of it, but your outfit is not. Have you been traveling long?
Si. A molto tempo. I left Rome 12 months ago, looking for inspiration. And that search brought me here. When I was a child, my father told me stories about the fall of Constantinople.
You must mean the conquest of Constantinople. I suppose the moral of any story matches the temper of the man telling it.
That we can agree on.
Güzel. Constantinople is a city for all kinds and creeds. Students like me or travelers such as yourself. I have so much work to return to, but it is good to be home.
Work? When I was your age, my interests were mainly salve.
Incredible. I am surprised you got anything done.
As was my mother.
It was a pleasure speaking with you, Bey Effendi. I hope you find something to hold your interest in.
I have faith I will.
Yardım edebilir miyim efendim?
Grazie, dear boy.
A scholar and a gentleman. You are full of surprises.
Very few, my friend. Eksik olmayın.
Hoş geldin kardeşim. Unless the legend is a lie, you are the man I long to meet. Renowned master and mentor. Ezio Auditore de la.
Prego.
Forgive me. I have a hard time remembering that Italian gibberish.
Da Firenze. The city where I was born.
Ah, yes. So, by your custom, I would be Yusuf Kazim da Istanbul. I like that.
Istanbul. Yet another name for this city.
Evet, it's a local favorite. Come, Mentor da Firenze. I will show you around.
After stepping off the boat to Constantinople, Ezio is greeted by none other than the assassin, Yusuf Tazim. Yusuf is such a great character. He is used in many cases for comedy and comic relief, but he's also a believable master of the assassins in Constantinople, and he's good at what he does. Ezio follows Yusuf through the streets of Constantinople, and you really get a feel for this city, with tightly packed streets, merchant stores littering the pathways, and people busily going about their day. Constantinople is really underrated as an open world space in Assassin's Creed. It has such a vibrant array of colours and beautiful architecture. It really was the perfect city to end Ezio's story. They also went that little bit further and highlighted the conflict between the Byzantines and the Ottomans, where Yusuf makes use of their rivalry to avoid a fight. Thanks to the presence of the Ottoman forces, the assassins are no longer hunted by the Byzantines, meaning they have a strong foothold on Constantinople for the first time in decades. Finally, Ezio and Yusuf reach the main assassin bureau in Constantinople, the Galata Den.
Mentor, say hello to your extended family.
Salute a voi, assassini. It is an honor to find such fast friends so far from home.
You see, brothers? Our mentor is not afraid to weep openly in front of pupils.
Do not worry. I will not make a habit out of it.
Ezio and I were ambushed on the way here. I'd like some of you to do a sweep of the area. Hey, man! And you, Ezio. Your weapons and armor are in a pitiful state. Maybe find some money and repair what you can. There is a blacksmith nearby. He's a friend.
Buona idea.
This whole memory just serves as a contextual way to introduce players to shops and renovating. Once again, like Brotherhood, there are 5 types of shops in the game. Blacksmiths, in which you can buy armor, weapons and ammunition. Tailors, where you can dye your robes, buy pouch upgrades and restock your parachutes. Doctors, where you can purchase medicine or poison. Bookshops, where you can purchase many historical books. These shops replace the art merchant from AC Brotherhood. And finally, banks, which can be used to withdraw money that you've earned from renovations. There technically is one more shop type, which is the bomb merchants that are scattered around the map, where you can buy random bomb configurations. Yeah, I literally never used these at all. You'll notice that all of the shops work exactly the same as they did in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, which is fine. This was the last game in Ezio's story, and Ubisoft were clearly waiting for Assassin's Creed 3 to change the formula up a bit. I've said it before and I'll say it again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You may remember me mentioning renovation, and yeah, renovating the city returns just the way it was in Brotherhood, where you can find buildings in disrepair around the map that can be renovated into functioning shops. The more shops you repair, the more income you receive every 20 minutes. You can also purchase landmarks too, which dramatically increase your income. Once again, a robust system that worked well in Brotherhood and really needed no changes for Revelations. After buying some armor and renovating some shops, we return to Yusuf, who is currently mingling with his students.
Praise the heavens! We feared we had lost our mentor to the vices of the big city.
I am content with my own vices, grazie.
So, what's on your mind, Ezio?
Tell me more about the Templars. You call them Byzantines. Yet the Byzantine Empire was overthrown 60 years ago.
These men are remnants of a line loyal to the cause of the last emperor, Constantine XI. Who leads them now, however? I cannot say.
Capisco. I suppose it is up to me to find out.
Ezio, where is your hook blade?
My hook blade?
You've never seen one? I grew up using these.
Show me how it works.
After explaining the fundamentals of the hook blade to Ezio, we get a little tutorial mission in which we get to test out our newly acquired hook blade. Now, the hook blade is pretty cool in concept, but I do think it sometimes slows down traversal instead of speeding it up, although it's a very situational tool. You basically have to parkour in a way that always plays to the strength of the hook blade if you want to keep a good flow of movement consistently. This means almost entirely avoiding scaling buildings directly unless you have no other option, avoiding overhanging edges, and always trying to judge the height of walls so you can consistently use the hook blade's ability to pull yourself up quicker. The hook blade unfortunately makes wall ejects a whole lot more annoying to pull off, because now every time you scale a wall, it's going to have Ezio latch onto the wall with his hook blade. This extra time it takes thanks to the longer animation is actually much more than you'd expect, and feels like so much longer when you're trying to quickly parkour through the city. Don't get me wrong, the hook blade has many useful utilities, but on the whole I just think Brotherhood's parkour is better, as I can use wall ejects way more consistently. After getting to grips with this new hook blade and using it to climb around the Galata district, Ezio and Yusuf climb to the top of the Galata tower, much like how Ezio and Federico climbed to the top of the church at the beginning of Assassin's Creed 2.
Welcome to Constantinople, Ezio, the crossroads of the world. Many generations of men have ruled the city, but they have never subdued her. She always bounces back.
It seems a fine place to call home.
It is. Race you to the bottom?
The rest of the sequence is mainly aimed at teaching you about den defense, bomb crafting, and den attacks. I'll briefly go over these now so we can get back to the story. I just think it's worthwhile briefly explaining what these features did to evolve the formula of Assassin's Creed open world at the time. Firstly, den defense was probably the most controversial of the additions, as it wasn't really received well by anyone. For some reason, they added a tower defense minigame into Revelations that you can play when Templars are attacking one of your assassin dens. It's not as bad as I remember thinking it was when I was a kid. It's just one of those things that's just kind of fun to do every now and then. I actually gave den defense a decent go in this game, and I actually only realized this year that you can unlock new types of towers to better protect your den. It only took me 10 years to actually try out the den defense properly, and it's safe to say that it could be taken out of the game entirely and we would lose nothing. Den attacks are the opposite of Den defense, as the name suggests. Think of Borgia Tower infiltrations from Brotherhood, and there's your Den attack. Across the city, there are Templar strongholds which can be infiltrated and liberated. To do this, you must get in, identify the captain, kill him, and then light the signal fire at the top of the tower to signify to your assassins that the coast is clear. Again, similarly to the Borgia Towers, after taking a Templar stronghold, you unlock new shops in that region to renovate as you see fit. Finally, the newest addition to Revelations, and probably the most creative, is bomb crafting. I actually really like bomb crafting. I never really got involved with it before because I didn't see the need to, but during this playthrough, I actually made much more of an effort to craft more bombs, and I must say they're a very nice addition, especially when it comes to stealth. You can throw a smoke bomb at a group of enemies, then throw an explosive into the smoke, and you've basically taken everyone out with little to no effort. The only thing you have to be careful of really is accidentally killing civilians, but even then it's not much of a risk at all. Bombs are an absolutely brilliant addition, and I'm very happy I made an effort to use them in this playthrough. So, upon defending your assassin den, crafting some bombs, and taking a Templar stronghold for our own, Desmond is pulled out of Ezio's memories and wakes up on Animus Island once again.
16?
Desmond, think about this. What if I went with you?
With me? Where?
It could work. Just for a while. Until I found a way out. Another body, maybe, or a... I don't know. I don't want to be here anymore.
That's not going to happen. I'm sorry.
No. I guess I had my chance. And I wasted it.
This scene really shows what Clay has been going through whilst being trapped inside the Animus. He must have gone insane somewhere along the line. I mean, he's completely immortal because his consciousness was uploaded to the Animus as code, and he has no means of escape. So he was left to wander the many corridors of code in the Animus, endlessly trying to find a way out. That must have been a different kind of torture. What's so crushing about this scene is that Desmond has to refuse to let him come back with him, which just leaves 16 completely hopeless, accepting his fate of being trapped in the Animus forever. Afterwards, we actually get a nice piece of dialogue between Sean, William and Rebecca, in which they discuss Desmond and Lucy. I'll leave you with this to finish off Memory Sequence 2.
Were they close? Desmond and Lucy? I mean, closer than friends?
Well, there was the occasional misty-eyed moment, but,
She liked him, Bill. That's what she told me. Interesting.
that's it? Just interesting?
I spent a lot of time training each of them when they were younger. She was a remarkable woman. And I just find this whole situation quite sad.
Sad? Are you finally getting soft on us, Bill?
Claudia, Constantinople, called Istanbul by the Turks, has welcomed me as one of its own. The assassins here, led by an affable fighter named Yusuf, take great pride in their city. A place as diverse and colorful as one could imagine. But it is a troubled city too. A rebellious faction of Byzantine Templars still fights to retain influence. And their recent attacks have delayed my search for the Masyaf Keys. But this will not last. As soon as I am able, I will begin looking for Niccolo Polo's former trading post, in search of clues that will bring me nearer to the Masyaf Keys.
The beginning of this memory sequence has Ezio speaking to Yusuf after successfully taking the Templar den, although they took heavy losses in the process. Yusuf asked Ezio, given his knowledge of building a brotherhood, to find new novices to recruit to the Assassin Order. The people of Constantinople are growing sick of Templar influence, and so many of them will be willing to join the Assassins. This is where the critically acclaimed Assassin recruit system from Brotherhood makes its return, only this time it's even better and more in-depth than before. You can recruit Assassins in a variety of different ways. Of course, there's the classic Defender Civilian, which was the standard in Brotherhood. However, there are actual recruit assassin missions dotted around the map, which go into a little bit more detail than just defend citizen. The missions range from helping a man save his family, taking in a skilled thief who went down the wrong path in life, fighting a man who ends up agreeing to join the Assassins to use his fighting skills for a purpose. Don't get me wrong, these missions really are nothing special. They're extremely short, but I do think it's nice to have these little contextual missions to show the struggles of the people in the city and how joining the Assassins saved them from a life of perpetual struggle and unfulfillment. Once you've recruited new novices into the Assassins, you have access to call them in whenever you like to have them take out specific targets for you. To have them take out specific targets for you, or to assist you in fights. Once you have enough assassins recruited, you can actually opt to call in an arrow storm, which kills all the enemies in an area, just like in Brotherhood. Also like in Brotherhood, you can also send assassins on missions across the Mediterranean, which upon successful completion awards your recruits with XP, which can be used to upgrade their weapons and armor. The higher level the assassin, the more capable they are of taking on higher tier missions, so it's recommended to send lower level recruits on missions in groups until they're a high enough level to go on their own. There's also a little mini-game of sorts within the Mediterranean defense in which there are Templar and Assassin occupied cities, and you must send assassins on missions to attack cities to gain control of them. In return, Templars will periodically launch their own attacks and try to regain control of cities that the assassins occupy, and so you must defend your cities or increase assassin influence to prevent attacks. It's actually pretty cool. Now, I don't know if you get anything specific if you occupy all cities at 100% assassin influence, but it's a nice little mini game anyway and adds a small layer of additional depth to the assassin recruit system. But that isn't all. After sending an assassin on enough missions, they will become eligible to become a den master. You can assign them to one of the many assassin dens around the map, and a new type of mission becomes available. Master Assassin missions. These missions are so great and are a real layer of additional depth for the assassin recruits that I think Brotherhood lacked. The Master Assassin missions have you go on actual assassination missions with your recruits, stalking a target and eventually assassinating them. Now, the actual content of these missions are nothing remarkable. They're usually very short, but again, this isn't a big deal because they're merely small side missions for you to work your way through when you feel like leveling up your assassins to master. And it's nice seeing Ezio be a proper mentor to these assassins because he really doesn't interact with his apprentices that much in Brotherhood. There is also a pretty cool incentive to do all these Master Assassin missions too. Once you have 7 of your assassins reach the rank of Den Master, you will acquire Ezio's Master Assassin armor, which is this really sleek, beautifully designed armor, serves as one of this game's unbreakable endgame armor sets, just like the armor of Altair in Assassin's Creed 2 and the armor of Brutus in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. The cool thing about the Master Assassin armor is that it has a hidden ability which is very, very useful: silent sprinting. This is the only armor in the game that has this ability, and to be honest, it's downright OP. Plus, this armor is so beautiful, how can you not want this to be your endgame armor set? I think it's the perfect armor to end Ezio's story with, and really shows his status as a Master Assassin. At this point in the sequence, this is pretty much the first time we get properly let out into the open world with no tutorials to weigh us down, so I normally take this opportunity to do a few viewpoints and get acquainted with Constantinople a bit better. Now, this is where I should take a moment to talk about this game's collectibles, of which there are only 2, Animus Fragments and Ishak Pasha memoir pages. There are 100 Animus Fragments to collect, similar to feathers from previous Ezio games. Collecting all 100 of these allows you to play each of the Desmond sequences available on Animus Island. These are nice missions that offer pretty important backstory on Desmond's upbringing, his relationship with the assassins, his family, how he ran away from the farm, and the events leading up to him being taken to Abstergo. From a storytelling standpoint, these missions are great, but I'm just not a huge fan of the gameplay. The Desmond missions have you platforming in these strange Animus rooms in which you can place blocks and jump from platform to platform. I must admit, the actual design of these levels visually is absolutely beautiful, and the soundtrack that plays during these Desmond sections is also superb. But the actual gameplay itself really isn't that interesting to me. This game's DLC actually has the same gameplay style, but instead you're playing from the point of view of Subject 16. I'm not going to be covering the DLC in this video, as it really has no bearing on Desmond or Ezio's story, but it does reveal that Lucy was working under the Templars, and it has the first reference in the Assassin's Creed franchise to the instruments of the First Will, which become more prominent later on in the games and extended media. The Lost Archive is an alright DLC for its backstory, but I never really liked it that much because it wasn't what we were used to with the Battle of Forli, Bonfire of the Vanities, and the Da Vinci Disappearance. Anyways, the Animus fragments let you play the Desmond missions, and they're pretty meh too from a gameplay standpoint. Not going to waste any more time talking about them in detail. The other type of collectibles you can acquire in Revelations are the Ishak Pasha memoir pages. There are 10 of these dotted around the map, and upon collecting all of them, you can unlock a secret tomb which houses a special armor set, Ishak Pasha armor. Now this mission itself is great. You guys know at this point how much I love the linear set piece missions of the Ezio Trilogy, and this one is just a nice final callback to these style of missions, as Assassin's Creed 3 only has one of these tomb style missions, and if I'm not mistaken it was DLC anyway. The armor itself has a really interesting design for those who like the very ornate armor sets in this game. I personally prefer the Master Assassin armor because it's a lot more understated, but I remember using this armor a lot back in the day. Honestly, both of the endgame armor sets look great in this game, still nothing compared to the sheer beauty of the armor of Altair, but a damn sight better than the mess that was the armor of Brutus. You'll notice that a lot of this sequence has been me explaining various side content. Sequence 3 is basically quite short, but it just so happens that you get the chance to properly try out a lot of the new things that are introduced in this sequence, so I thought I'd just explain them all now before getting back to the main story. We unlock faction challenges during this sequence. Now I'm not going to go into a ridiculous amount of detail for these, as they're just challenges you can complete passively, and they basically work exactly the same as they did in Brotherhood. There are 5 different challenge types: Assassin, Romany, Thief, Mercenary, and Bombs. The rewards this time around are basically the same as in Brotherhood. Completing Romany, Thief, Mercenary, and Assassin challenges either gives the respective factions new passive abilities, or you get a faction weapon. Most notably, for completing the Assassin faction missions, you get the Sword of Altair, which I always make sure to get before the end of the game. Faction challenges work exactly the same as in Brotherhood, so if you've watched my Brotherhood retrospective, you know the drill. Lastly, we're introduced to Puri Race and bomb crafting, in which we can create and test out new bombs. There are actually a selection of mission boards within Puri Race shop that can be interacted with, putting you into a bomb quest memory in which you will test out different kinds of bombs. It's weird, these missions are basically tutorials, so I don't really know why they're listed as bomb quests in the DNA tracker. They really should have been called bomb tutorials. Anyway, these missions are actually quite useful if you're not sure which bombs you want to use, as they let you play around with each type of bomb in the game. Impact bombs, sticky bombs, fuse bombs, and tripwire bombs. Some bombs are used to distract, some are used to kill, and some are used to impair. It really depends on what you need. Without a doubt though, the best type of bomb in this game has to be the smoke bombs. You can increase their radius by using British gunpowder, which just makes these bombs ridiculously OP. If you're up against a large group of guards and can't be bothered to fight them, just throw one of these bad boys down along with some form of lethal bomb, and the fight is over pretty quickly. Not to mention, smoke bombs are great for stealth, allowing you to take out entire groups of guards without being seen. And with that, we've covered everything new to the open world in this sequence, and we can get back to the search for the Masyaf Keys. Ezio returns to the den to discuss the Masyaf Keys, as well as Niccolo Polo's journal with Yusuf.
You'll find many ingredients for bomb recipes scattered throughout the city. So keep your eyes open and your nose to the ground as you move about.
That should keep me busy. Grazie, Yusuf. Have you ever seen this book?
No. It's a journal?
Si.
The Secret Crusade by Niccolo Polo. Marco's father?
I found this on a Templar in Masyaf. It mentions the 5 keys to Altair's library. Niccolo brought them here and hid them.
Ah, and the Templars know this, so it's a race against time.
They found one already, beneath Topkapo. I want to recover it and find the other 4.
So, where will you begin?
The old Polo trading post, I think. They ran a business in this area, no?
I believe so. Speak with a man named Piri Reis in the bazaar. He can point you in the right direction. And teach you a few more bomb recipes, if you are so inclined.
In order to find hints as to the whereabouts of the Masyaf Keys, Ezio heads to Niccolo Polo's former trading post and meets a curious woman, Sofia Sartor, a fellow Italian.
Buongiorno. Merhaba. Please come in. Oh, excuse the clutter. I have not had time to tidy up since my trip.
You sailed from Rhodes, no?
See, how did you know?
We were on the same ship. I am Ezio Auditore.
Sofia Sartor. Have we met?
We have now. May I have a look around?
Prego. Most of my best tomes are in the back.
You may recognize Sofia from the boat that Ezio was on as he entered Constantinople. She was the woman that the young student helped with her belongings. Ezio and Sofia meeting for the first time is a very significant moment, as she is the love interest in this game, which is quite significant as Ezio hasn't loved anyone in a very long time, not since Christina died during the events at the Bonfire of the Vanities, in which she was fatally wounded by Florentine guards under the influence of the Apple of Eden, controlled by Savonarola. The piece of music that plays during this scene is amazing too. It's Sofia Sartor's theme, and it plays whenever there is a significant moment between her and Ezio. This is without a doubt my favourite piece of music in the game. It's just so beautiful. There are various versions of this theme played throughout the game, and it's a joy to hear each time. Ezio looks around her shop and stumbles across a back room. Activating Eagle Sense reveals that there's a hidden entrance that leads underneath the shop. Ezio interacts with it, opening a hatch leading down into darkness.
Have you found anything interesting? Mio Dio! Who put that there? Incredibile. Where does it lead?
Why don't we find out?
Who are you, Messere?
Only the most interesting man in your life.
Ah, che presuntuoso.
A presto, Sofia. I will return in a moment.
This mission is the first of many linear set-piece based missions in Revelations. Yes, the fan-favourite mission structure seen in the Assassin Tombs from AC2 and the Les of Romulus and Leonardo's inventions from Brotherhood make a triumphant comeback as main story missions in Revelations. Ubisoft must have realised that people love these types of missions and opted to include them as cool ways to find each Masyaf key. We'll talk more about the other ones as we get to them, but this mission has us exploring the dingy catacombs underneath Topkapi Palace, stealthily dispatching the guards and moving on to the next area. This mission is really simple and effective. It's just a set of rooms one after the other in which you use stealth to take down captains, taking their keys and unlocking the gate to the next area. Once you've cleared out all the rooms, Ezio finds himself in a bare room with no exits, although upon activating Eagle Sense, it appears that there is a secret door. Behind this door is the location of the first Masyaf key. Ezio approaches the statue and takes the key from its receptacle and returns to the shop to speak with Sofia.
Salve, Ezio. That took some time. What did you find?
Something that may interest you.
Mio Dio, che meraviglia! And here is my shop.
Look at the margins.
Strange symbols, and these are titles of books. Rare books. A few of these have not been seen for more than a millennium.
Niccolo Polo hid these books around the city. This map should tell us where.
You're beginning to interest me. Vaguely.
From what I can tell, I need to find these 3 books first. They may contain clues to locate the rest of these.
Molto curioso.
Another was found beneath Topkapi Palace, but there is still time to reach the others.
Found by whom?
Men who do not read. Sofia, can you decipher this map? Help me find these books.
Can I borrow them when you are finished?
We will work something out.
And there we have our main goal, to use the help of Sofia to discover the locations of each of Niccolo Polo's books that contain clues to the locations of more Masyaf keys. Ezio meets back up with Yusuf to discuss the new information, as well as discuss next steps to take against the Templars in Constantinople.
Yusuf, salute.
Piri told me I might see you here. Did you find what you were looking for?
I believe so. This is one of Altair's 5 keys. A strange artifact.
Ah, it is like nothing I have ever seen. You should keep it somewhere safe.
At our headquarters, see. I will. What brings you this way?
I am coordinating with our allies today. The thieves in the bazaar, the mercenaries near the arsenal, and the Romanis in the Constantine district.
You are spread a bit thin, Yusuf. Let me speak with the Romanis myself. I have had so little contact with them in the past.
That would ease my mind. If you are in a hurry, you may travel by our network of tunnels. The air down there is a little foul, but the rats are no bigger than dogs. Have fun.
Grazie.
Now, there's actually an additional couple missions in this sequence. One where we help the Romanis do something, and another where we help our first assassin master in training take out his first target. But firstly, the Romani mission is really pointless and basically adds nothing to the story. And secondly, I've already explained the Master Assassin missions and we don't need to go into each one individually. After helping the Romanis reclaim their lost money and helping his apprentice assassinate the Sentinel, Ezio returns to his study to examine the Masyaf Key.
The markings on this key are familiar. And the material, I have seen its kind before. Just like the Apple of Eden. Ancient technology from the first civilization.
Are you hurt?
Broken foot. What is your name, brother?
Altair, son of Umar.
Umar? Oh yes. He was a fine man who lived as he died. With honor.
Altair! We have been betrayed. The enemy has overrun the castle.
You live. And Al-Mualim, where is he?
He was inside when the Crusaders broke through. We can do nothing for him now. Altair, we must fall back.
When I close the castle gate, flank the Crusaders in the village and drive them into the canyon.
You don't stand a chance!
Abbas, no mistakes.
This is it, the first memory of Altair. I still remember playing this for the first time when I was a kid, and just being so excited to be playing as Altair again. At the time, he was my favourite character because I liked his stoicism and how he was a very traditional assassin. Anyways, this was a dream come true for me to be playing as Altair in Masyaf once again, taking down guards, climbing familiar buildings, and meeting returning characters like Abbas. Currently, there's a battle between the assassins and the Templars breaking out in Masyaf, and the assassins have been betrayed and the castle has been overrun. Altair fights his way up to the castle to save those inside, including Al-Mualim.
Another step, and your mentor dies!
You will not leave this place alive, traitor.
No, you misunderstand. I am no traitor. But I cannot betray those I never truly loved.
Then you are doubly wretched, for you have been living a lie.
This section is just such classic Assassin's Creed. With limited time, Altair scales the walls of the castle, stealthily taking out the guards patrolling the battlements to ensure that the target isn't alerted to his presence. Finally, after making his way to the perfect position, Altair jumps down and with the snick of his blade, the traitor is no more.
You put too much faith in the hearts of men, Altair. The Templars know the truth. Humans are weak, base, and petty.
No. Our creed is evidence to the contrary.
Perhaps I am not wise enough to understand, but I suspect the opposite. That I am too wise to believe such rubbish.
You offered him a chance to salvage his dignity. Why?
No man should pass from this world without knowing some kindness.
But he shunned your graces.
As was his right.
Altair, I have watched you grow from a boy to a man in so short a time. It fills me with as much sadness as pride.
You fit your father's shoes as if they had been tailored to your feet.
I did not know him well as a father. He was an assassin, above all.
You too were born into this order. Do you regret it?
How can I regret the only life I've ever known?
You may find a way in time, and it will be up to you to choose the path you prefer. Come, my boy, and ready your blade. This battle is not yet won.
This whole section was just perfect. The return to Masyaf, protecting it from the Templars, a stealth section and assassination, a confession, and finally a meaningful conversation with Al-Mualim before he was corrupted by the power of the apple. These Altair memories are a highlight of the Ezio Trilogy and are a perfect example of how much care this series used to be handled with. They didn't need to return to Altair, but they did, and they chose to pay close attention to things that longtime fans love. Obviously, there's plenty more Altair based memories to come, so this is just a taster, and with that, the sequence draws to a close. Ezio mulls over what he's seen, trying to figure out why Altair left these memories and what he wants to show him.
Claudia, I am now in possession of one of the Masyaf Keys. And better still, I have discovered a map, encoded with signs and symbols, which I believe will lead me to the remaining keys. Its full meaning is a mystery to me, but I am thankful to have met a Venetian woman willing to help me decipher it. I must not overstate my successes. The Templars still hold one key hostage, and if I am to recover it, I may need more help than the assassins can provide. If I can make a friend in the Ottoman court, my access to the secrets of this city will improve greatly.
The sequence begins with Ezio speaking to Yusuf at the Hippodrome. The Templars are planning to attack the Ottoman royal family, and it's up to the assassins to defend them and gain their trust. We now have this really cool parkour section which sees Ezio, Yusuf and the assassins sprinting across the rooftops of Constantinople to Topkapi Palace. It's simple moments like these that just feel so Assassin's Creed. As Yusuf said, the Templars are planning to attack the royal family at a large social gathering, not only to cause panic and confusion to cover their tracks, but to do it in front of the people so that they're scared. Upon arriving at the palace, Ezio procures a disguise to get inside. And what do we end up dressing as? None other than the minstrels that have harassed us in the streets since Assassin's Creed 2. I must say, playing this section for the first time was so fun. It's chock full of references to previous games. Ezio and his apprentices render the minstrels unconscious by using entirely non-violent means. After procuring disguises for him and his men, Ezio slips past the guards and into the party.
I look ridiculous. I feel ridiculous.
My blade is too conspicuous in this outfit. Are you armed?
C'est le deal. You mark the targets, and we will take them out. You, know how to play that thing?
I learned a few chords when I was young.
When were you ever young?
After entering the party is where things get fun. The goal here is to defend Prince Suleiman as he greets guests around the party. Ezio uses his eagle vision to locate Templars in the crowd, then distracts the prince and his subjects with music whilst his assassins take out the targets. What's great about this section is that Ezio improvises various songs on the lute with a few chords that he knows. And the lyrics reference many popular characters and events from the Ezio games. I actually sat and listened to all of them on this playthrough, and there's actually a lot that I haven't heard before. After making our way around the party, saving a completely oblivious Suleiman, and playing some banging tunes, everything gets a little bit out of hand, and Ezio has to make a drastic decision to save Prince Suleiman. A Templar is approaching Suleiman, so Ezio breaks his lute in half and jams the snapped wood into his neck. It's pretty brutal, to be honest.
It is a relief to see you again, mio bel menestrello. Did I say that right?
Well enough. I hear you are a governor, too. Is there anything you do not do?
I do not talk to strangers. I am Suleiman.
Ezio Auditore.
Shehzadem, are you injured?
Who is your captain, soldier?
Tariq Balete. He is away on an errand.
Clear this body and send the guests home. Then summon Tariq to the divan.
Bashustane, Shehzadem.
Tariq Balete is a captain in the Janissary Corps, the Sultan's elite soldiery.
They guard the Sultan, but not his family.
Not very well, evidently. Ezio, do you have some time to spare? I would like your opinion on something.
I will, once I change out of these rags.
Güzel, meet me when you are ready.
After speaking with Suleiman, Ezio tells him he wants to meet with him to speak further. Ezio meets with him the following day, and he tells him that he has set up a meeting with his uncle Ahmet and Tariq, the captain of the Janissaries. There have been discussions as to who the next Sultan should be, and the Janissaries are not happy that Ahmet is being highly considered, given the fact that they do not like him. They prefer Suleiman's father, Selim. Ezio and Suleiman aim to find out exactly how the Byzantines fit into this tense situation, as they are sure to make the most of the situation when there's infighting between the Ottomans. Suleiman instructs Ezio to wait at the top of the nearby tower to eavesdrop on their meeting.
Heed my nephew, Tariq. Your incompetence borders on treason. And to think that today, your Janissaries were outshone by an Italian lute player. Preposterous.
An inexcusable failing, Effendim. I will conduct a full investigation.
I will conduct the investigation, Tariq. For reasons that should be obvious.
Evet, Shehzadem. You have your father's wisdom.
And his impatience. Uncle, I am relieved to see you safe.
Likewise, Suleiman. Allah emanet olun. Tariq Bey, a word. What was the purpose of this attack, I wonder? To make me look weak? An ineffective steward of the city? If you are the hand in this mess, Tariq, you have made a grave mistake. My father has chosen me as the next Sultan, not my brother.
Ahmed, I am not depraved enough to imagine the conspiracy you accuse me of.
What have I done to earn such contempt from the Janissaries? What has my brother done for you that I have not?
May I speak freely?
You'd better.
You are weak, Ahmed. Pensive in times of war and restless in times of peace. You lack passion for the traditions of the Ghazi, yet you speak of fraternity in the company of infidels. You make a decent philosopher, Ahmed, but you will be a poor sultan.
You may show yourself out.
Due to the fact that Tariq's Janissaries failed to secure the palace against a Byzantine attack, Ezio and Suleiman become suspicious of him and think he may be colluding with them to bring the end to any potential competition for the role of Sultan, insinuating that he may be working in accordance with the Templars in order to gain a seat of power. Suleiman asks Ezio to investigate the Janissaries to see what Tariq is up to. For now, this is the end of this particular line of inquiry. Ezio will pick the trail of Tariq back up in the next memory sequence. Now it's time to return to Sofia, and on the way to meeting her, we see a rather familiar face.
Mia cara, the strings of fate have drawn us together. Two Italiani, lost and alone in the Orient. Do you not feel the magnetismo?
I feel many things, Messere. Nausea above all.
Is this man bothering you, Sofia?
Excuse me, Messere, but the lady and I are... Oh! Oh, il diavolo in persona! Stay back!
Duccio, a pleasure.
Run, buona donna! Run for your life!
Who was that?
Un cane. He was engaged to my sister many years ago.
And what happened?
His cazzo was engaged to 6 others. Chiedo venia. So what brings you to these docks?
I took a break from my work to retrieve a package. But here they claim the captain's papers are not in order, so I wait. Que seccatura. I could be here all day.
Let me see what I can do. I know a few ways to bend the rules.
Do you now?
Si. I will meet you back at your shop.
Ah yes, of course Duccio had to show up in Revelations 2. This means that he's in more of Ezio's games than Machiavelli, Leonardo, and even Claudia. Revelations is a game that feels so far away from the other two in terms of its tone and atmosphere, so this callback to Duccio is such a welcome one, as it brings back those memories of Ezio in Italy that feel so far away when strolling the streets of Constantinople. You can actually find Duccio later on and beat him up one last time for old time's sake. Poor guy ran for his life and still got knocked out. Farewell, Duccio. Anyway, this is a classic stealth infiltration mission where you get aboard the boat, sneak around the guards, and reclaim Sophia's package. You guys know the drill. I don't need to go into the specifics of each small memory now, do I? After successfully retrieving her package, Ezio returns to Sophia with the good news, and to get the location of the next Niccolo Polo book.
Salute, Ezio. Any luck?
Mademoiselle Sophia Sartor, Libraia, Constantinople.
Oh no, look at the damage. Did they use this to fight off pirates? Well, so far so good. Ah, beautiful, no? This is a print of a map by Martin Waldseemüller. See here? The new lands, described by Messer Amerigo Vespucci.
Or Cristoforo Colombo. History has a strange way of unfolding.
What do you make of this body of water here?
A new ocean, perhaps. Most of the scholars I know claim the size of the globe has been underestimated.
Incredibile. The more we learn about the world, the less we seem to know. Well, you honored your promise. Here is mine fulfilled. If we are correct, this should show you the location of the first book. I must admit, my head is swimming with the prospect of seeing these books. This is knowledge the world has lost, and must have again. Perhaps I could print a few copies to distribute myself. A small run of 50 or so, that should be enough. Perché ridi?
Forgive me. It is a joy to see someone with a passion so personal and noble. It is inspiring.
Goodness, where's this coming from?
Grazie, Sophia. I will return.
Ezio heads off and finds the location of the Niccolo Polo book hidden near the Hagia Sophia, which contains the location to one of the Masyaf Keys. The next Masyaf Key is hidden underneath the Galata Tower, in the caves that run underneath the city. This mission is one of the most fun in the game in my opinion, and it once again brings back that Assassin Tomb style gameplay that we've come to love whilst playing the Ezio games. This memory mainly consists of parkour, opposed to the last one which was mainly consisting of stealth. I like the diversity in gameplay that these missions offer, because it makes each of them feel much more unique. There are a lot of cool set piece moments in this mission which I'm a massive fan of. It makes the whole sequence a lot more cinematic, as Ezio just manages to save himself from all sorts of dangerous situations. Finally, after narrowly escaping death many times, Ezio reclaims the second Masyaf Key and heads back to the assassin hideout to relive more of Altair's stored memories.
You held fire in your hand, old man. It should have been destroyed.
Destroy the only thing capable of ending the Crusades and creating true peace? Never.
Forgive me for this, Mentor. But the apple corrupted you, and through you it would have corrupted us. For us to live, you had to die.
Okay, so I just want to say, yeah, I know there's subtitles for this bit, but basically, my original gameplay for this very memory was all fucked and would just basically jump about, and the gameplay, it was awful. It was terrible. So I asked James if he could give me his gameplay that he used for his Assassin's Creed Revelations retrospective. And for this memory, that's what you're going to be watching now. And you're probably wondering, hey George, why didn't you just replay the memory and then record that? Well, I tried re-recording the memory, and for some reason, this one specific memory has this really weird glitch where, upon a replay, it will use Altair's character model from a later mission where he's got a grey beard, and it's just really fucking jarring to me, and I tried to get the gameplay again, and there's just nothing I can do. So you're going to have to deal with this section having subtitles, and then the rest of the game not having subtitles. It's kind of annoying. It's probably more annoying to me than it is to you guys, but I just thought I'd let you know why. Anyway, I'm sorry for interrupting this masterpiece. Enjoy.
Is it truly over? Is that sorcerer dead?
He was no sorcerer. Just an ordinary man in command of illusions. Have you prepared the pyre?
I have, but... Altair, some of the men will not stand for such a thing.
Let me handle it.
As you may have guessed, this scene takes place directly after the events of Assassin's Creed. Just after Altair defeats Al-Mualim, reclaims the apple, and in doing so, saves the people of Masyaf from their enthrallment. From the perspective of the people, they just woke up and find their mentor dead, and Altair carrying his corpse outside to be burned on a pyre, something that was seen by assassins at the time as a great offence. This is seen when Abbas tries to stop Altair, refusing to believe that Al-Mualim would betray the assassins.
Altair! No!
I must know that he cannot return.
But this is not our way. To burn a man's body is forbidden. Defiler!
Hear me out. This body could be another one of Al-Mualim's phantoms. I must be certain.
Lies! All your life, you have made a mockery of our creed. You bend the rules to suit your whims, while belittling and humiliating those around you.
Restrain him!
Did you not hear him? Al-Mualim is bewitched.
Abbas's distrust for Altair reaches a head, and he pushes Altair off of a small cliff into the crowd. People in the crowd are clearly conflicted on who to believe, and so they start fighting amongst themselves, leading to Altair having to defend himself without killing anyone. He disarms whoever tries to attack him as he still cares about his brothers. They are merely scared and misled. During the confusion, Abbas takes the apple and climbs to the top of a nearby tower, ignorantly endangering himself and everyone in the area, as the Apple of Eden is an artifact that is very dangerous when wielded by someone who cannot control it. Altair scales the tower before the apple saps him completely of all his energy and takes it from him. It's safer in the hands of Altair considering he has a high enough concentration of First Civilization DNA to control it, hence why he was not enthralled by Al-Mualim during the events of the first game.
What was that? Are they dead?
Forgive me. I did not know.
Have you anything to teach us? Or you lead us all to ruin?
This was one of the more interesting Altair memories in the game, especially because it shows the aftermath of Al-Mualim's death and the heavy burden that Altair had to carry following the events of the original Assassin's Creed. In this memory, he's barely 26 years old and is already responsible for a piece of Eden and is the mentor of a divided assassin order. He really had his work cut out for him. Put it into perspective, Ezio didn't become mentor until he was 44 years old, and even then he had lots of help from Machiavelli and the other assassins that he was close friends with. Altair basically had to restart from scratch, winning over those that had doubts about him, and with that, Ezio once again sits in his study trying to figure out what it all means, and that is the end of this sequence.
I have made the acquaintance of an Ottoman prince named Suleiman. He's a clever young man, with a fortitude uncommon for his age. On his suggestion, I will be investigating some wayward Janissaries, who may be in league with the Templars. With luck, they will lead me straight to the core of the Templars' leadership. Meanwhile, the Venetian Sofia Sartor continues to help me find the hidden Masyaf Keys. She is a diligent woman, full of passion and vigor, and I enjoy her company immensely. But I dare not tell her the purpose of my stay here, nor of my true vocation. Those who do not volunteer in our struggle should not be forced to fight it.
So this sequence begins with Ezio talking to Rugman, you know, the the most influential character in Assassin's Creed lore. This man is so fucking important to the overall narrative. This sequence kicks immediately off with the tailing mission. Ah yes, the classic Assassin's Creed mission structure. Follow an individual around a set route, hiding as they turn around periodically for no reason. As we know, Ezio and Suleiman suspect Tariq Barleti of foul play. They believe that he is colluding with the Templars to claim the title of Sultan for himself. After tailing him to the location, he meets with a shifty man known as Manuel Paleologos.
You may verify the amount, Tariq, but the money stays with me until I have seen the cargo for myself, and to say its quality.
Understood. You are a shrewd man, Manuel.
Trust without cynicism is hollow.
The count is good, Tariq. It's all here.
So, what now?
You will have access to the arsenal. When you are satisfied, the cargo will be delivered to a location of your choosing.
Are your men prepared to travel?
Not a problem.
Polikala, I will have a map drawn up for you within the week.
Are we here for the same reason?
One of my men claims he saw a shipment of weapons enter the arsenal, so I got curious.
Weapons? I would like to see them for myself.
Short of killing everyone, I'm not sure how you will get inside.
You have been warned twice. No merchants near the arsenal wall. Take this away.
Hypocrites! If your men did not buy my produce, I would not sell it here! You are worse than the Byzantines, you traitor!
Ah! Hold your tongue, parasite!
Even in times of peace, the poor are always under siege.
If we inspire them to vent their anger, perhaps that will help our cause.
The goal of this next section is to rile up the crowd so that they do the work for us. Ezio needs to get into the arsenal to see these weapons that Paleologos has bought from Tariq and needs a way in. The poor are constantly subject to abuse from the Janissaries, meaning they will jump at the chance to rise as one and riot in the streets against their oppressors. You could argue that this is very uncharacteristic for Ezio to manipulate these civilians and put them in harm's way, but I believe standing up and fighting for yourself is much better than kneeling and being downtrodden. The people of Constantinople are on the edge of revolt anyways. Ezio just helped them do it quicker. Ezio also fights for the people, keeping them safe from soldiers trying to kill them, so it's not an entirely awful thing to do on Ezio's part. Eventually, the people break through the door to the arsenal and storm inside. Ezio uses this confusion to enter the arsenal and run to where the weapons are waiting for Paleologos to eavesdrop on the transaction.
2 years in the city living like a cipher. Finally, everything is falling into place.
When the Paleologos line is restored, Manuel, do not forget who helped you bring it back.
Of course not, my friend. I would not dream of betraying a man of your influence. But you must be patient. Nova Roma wasn't built in a day. I'm satisfied. Take me to my ship. If a single one is damaged, the money stays with me.
Merda.
After confirming the location of the shipment of weapons, Ezio escapes the arsenal and back into the streets of Constantinople. This means it's the perfect time to go and visit Sofia again to see if she has made any more progress with the next book locations.
Salute! I am closing in on 2 more books. One near Topkapi and the other in the Bayezid district.
Bayezid first. Topkapi will be a dead end.
Ah, see.
What do you make of this?
Oh, Ezio. Incredibile. Early Coptic bindings, still in good shape. Amazing. This must be a 3rd century transcription of the original.
Sofia, what happened here?
Oh, that happens once or twice a year. People break in thinking they will find money. I do not keep much here, but this time they made off with a portrait of some value. It is a shame.
You keep working. I will find your painting.
Ezio, the thief could be anywhere by now.
If the thief came for money, or took a painting, he should be close by, eager to get rid of it.
Well, if you happen to find it within the next few hours, meet me by the aqueduct. I will be running errands.
This may be a hot take, but I actually love the Sophia memories in this game. They're such a nice break from the sneaking, stabbing and politics of the assassin storyline, and serve as a nice reward near the end of each memory sequence. I actually think Sophia is a great character given how little time she actually gets on screen. Anyways, Ezio intends to get Sophia's stolen painting back and heads to the bazaar to find the culprit. Using eagle sense, he finds the thief and beats him up. Afterwards, he tells Ezio that he's already sold it to a nearby merchant. Ezio then finds the merchant and steals the painting back from him, and promptly returns to Sophia to give it back to her.
It is a good likeness, don't you think?
I prefer the original.
Buffone. This was a gift from my father for my 28th birthday. I had to sit for Messer Albrecht Dürer for a full week. Can you imagine me sitting still for 7 days doing nothing?
I cannot.
Una tortura. So, I found you another book location. And it is not far from here, actually.
Grazie.
Ezio, what is this all about? You are not a scholar, that much is clear. Do you work for the church?
Not the church, no. But I am a teacher, of a kind. I will explain one day, Sophia, when I can.
I love this scene with Sophia and her curiosity towards who Ezio is and what his motives are. I don't know why I love Ezio's chuckle when she asks him if he's with the church, as the assassins are very much the opposition to the tyranny of the church. Niccolo Polo hid the next book near the Valens Aqueduct. Ezio once again finds it using eagle sense and heads straight to the location of the next Masyaf Key.
What did you find? Another key?
Door of some kind, bricked up with hard stone.
Ah, promising. The first key was found behind a similar door.
Timules. And how did they open that door?
They did it. The earthquake did.
Iberokai. All we have are a few barrels of gunpowder.
This should do. And if it does not, we get more. The assassin! Go! Go!
The next mission is mainly a large chase set piece, which has Ezio sprinting, parkouring and climbing after the boat. The mission is basically a race against time because both Ezio and the Byzantines know where the Masyaf Key is. It's just a matter of who gets there first. This was always one of my favourite Masyaf Key missions in the game. It's just so cool. I absolutely adore these parkour set pieces and wish they never chose to get rid of them. This one in particular is really fun as you jump around these ruins, swing across large gaps and avoid gunfire from the men in the boat below. It's just so cinematic, and replaying it was an absolute joy. Not to mention the amazing soundtrack in the background that you guys can hear now. This piece of music is absolutely beautiful and perfectly encompasses the feel of these Masyaf Key missions. After chasing the boat through the perilous ruins, Ezio jumps onto the boat, kills the men aboard, and makes his way to the secret door leading to the next Masyaf Key. After collecting the key, he heads back to the assassin den to relive the next memory left for him by Altair.
The Templars have retaken their archive on Cyprus. Abbas sent no reinforcements. It was a massacre.
Oh my god.
Maria, when we left Masyaf 10 years ago, this order was strong. But all our progress has been undone.
Abbas must answer for this.
Answer to whom? The assassins obey only his command now.
Resist your desire for revenge, Altair. Speak truth, and they will see their error.
He executed our youngest son, Maria. He deserves to die.
Perhaps. But if you cannot win back the Order by honorable means, its foundation will crumble.
You are right. 30 years ago, I let passion overtake my reason. And it caused a rift that has never fully healed.
This particular section takes place a long time after the last one. Altair is 63 in this memory. This mission actually takes place during the events of the Secret Crusade novel written by Oliver Bowden. An absolutely brilliant read, by the way, and I recommend it a lot. It goes all the way through Altair's life from his childhood all the way to his death. There's even a prologue and epilogue that takes place from Ezio's perspective on the boat to Constantinople, as he had just acquired the book from Leandros and was reading it through. It's probably the best Assassin's Creed novel out there. Anyway, at this point in time, Altair and Maria have been gone for over 10 years fighting the Mongols with Darim. They have found out that not only is Malik dead, but Abbas ordered the killing of their youngest son. Maria convinces Altair to speak to Abbas and make him hear reason instead of outright killing him, although he didn't quite know the consequences of this tolerance.
Let them speak.
We seek the truth about our son's death. Why was Seth killed?
Is it the truth you want? Or an excuse for revenge?
If the truth gives us an excuse, we will act on it.
Surrender the apple, Altair, and I will tell you why your son was put to death.
Ah, the truth is out already. Abbas wants the apple for himself, not to open your minds, but to control them.
You have held that artifact for 30 years, Altair, reveling in its power and hoarding its secrets. It has corrupted you.
Very well, Abbas. Take it.
What?
Before I executed your son, I told him you ordered it yourself. He died, believing you had betrayed him.
Altair! Altair! No! Strength. Altair.
Maria. He is possessed! Kill him! Take the apple, now!
This is a scene that's also depicted in the book. I must say it's brilliant in both the game and the book. Altair becomes so enraged at this point when the assassin taunts him that he uses the apple to make him kill himself. In the book, he actually makes the guy claw his own face off until his nails snap and his fingers bleed. That would obviously be far too violent to show in game. The whole section is so tragic. Altair loses basically everything here. His youngest son is gone, Maria is killed, and he has to flee Masyaf to survive, leaving Maria behind. He and Darim run through the streets of Masyaf, killing assassins that have been poisoned by Abbas's lies. Finally, Darim and Altair reach the gate to Masyaf and mount their horses, riding away from a place they once called home.
I will have the apple, Altair, and I will have your head for all the dishonor you brought upon my family. You cannot run forever, not from us, and not from your lies!
Maria. My love.
This memory really shows Altair's life at his lowest point, driven from his home, the loss of his wife and son, as well as his best friend Malik. It looks bleak for the old assassin, although life always has a way of bouncing back, which we'll come to see in the future. Ezio once again ponders what he's seen, most likely relating to the pain Altair feels of losing his family, and with that, this sequence draws to a close.
Excellent news, Claudia. I now have a name. Manuel Paleologos, nephew of the deposed Byzantine Emperor Constantine. I have few doubts that he is the man leading the Templars. My task now is to interrogate a traitorous janissary named Tarek Barletti and find the location of the Templars' army. Until then, Sophia and I will continue our search for the one key that remains hidden. With every passing moment, I know my chances grow slimmer. And yet I cannot help but linger some days to stay an extra hour with her. To hear her voice and watch her face animate with joy as she speaks of the things that move her. Her books, her city, her memories. I cannot help but think what a shame it will be when I find the final key.
That's not a legal move.
It is a European variation. Arocco.
It's interesting, but not exactly fair when you play by different rules than your opponent.
You may think differently when you are Sultan. Shall I take it back?
Suleiman, I know it has been hard on you watching your father and me quarrel over Bayezid's throne.
Grandfather has chosen you, and his word is Qanun. What is there to argue about?
Your father and I were close once, but his cruelty and ambition have made...
I have heard the rumors, Uncle.
Well, I have a meeting with the Vizier soon. Shall we continue another time?
Whenever you like. Ezio.
Tarek has been selling guns to a local miser, Manuel Paleologos.
Paleologos? That is a sad sound. The last Byzantine emperor was Constantine Paleologos. If his heir is arming a militia of some kind, this conflict will escalate.
Tarek knows where the rifles are headed. If I find him first, I can follow the weapons straight to the Byzantines.
He will be with his Janissaries in their barracks. So if you want to get close, you will have to be one yourself.
Not a problem.
Güzel. Get the information you need. Then kill him.
Are you sure? You told me Tarek and your father were close friends, Suleiman.
This is true, but such naked treason against my grandfather deserves death.
Intesi.
Manuel Paleologos, the heir to the Byzantine Empire, is arming a militia with the help of Tarek Barleti. Ezio wants to get close to Tarek so that he can interrogate him on the location of the Templar army. Suleiman asks Ezio to kill him, a rash decision. However, Ezio agrees nonetheless and continues their plan. To be honest, this memory sequence is short and sweet. The sequences will get much more short from here on out, and you'll see why. To get close to Tarek, a man always surrounded by his Janissary guards, Ezio must procure a set of beautifully ornate Janissary armor so that he can make it into the camp without being seen, allowing him to walk straight to Barleti himself. This next section is very similar to the Golden Mask mission in Assassin's Creed 2 during the Venice Carnivale, where you are in disguise but still recognizable to the guards if you linger in their line of sight for too long. It's actually pretty cool though. The Janissaries don't question who you are, but the normal Ottoman guards do, so you must be wary of them. Tarek can be found near the back of the encampment mingling with his men and watching them train. There's a nice pathway straight to the scaffolding overlooking the courtyard, the perfect place to deal the killing blow. Ezio gets into position, leaps, and with the snick of his blade, Tarek Barleti is down.
What a bitter irony. Is this the result of Suleiman's investigation?
You collude with the Sultan's enemies. What did you expect would come of such treachery?
I blame myself. Not for treason, but hubris. I was preparing an ambush. Preparing to strike the Byzantine Templars where they felt safest.
What proof do you have of this?
See, here. This will lead you to the Byzantines in Cappadocia. Destroy them if you can.
You have done well, Tarek. Forgive me.
Protect my homeland, assassin. Allah Ashkila. Redeem the honor we have lost in this fight.
I feel so bad for Tarek during this confession. He was working undercover in a sense, making Manuel Paleologos and his men believe he was trying to form an alliance with them, even going so far as to supply them with counterfeit weapons so that they would trust him. He was planning on mounting an attack on the Byzantines before they could attack Constantinople. Just as his plan was falling into place, Suleiman's investigation led us to this point, an innocent man being killed for flying too close to the sun. You can tell how ashamed Ezio is of this misjudgment, as a good man is dead at his hand because of the rash decision of another. During his confession, he tells Ezio the location of the Byzantine Templars. They're holed up in the underworld city of Cappadocia. After escaping the Janissaries, Ezio returns to Suleiman to relay the bad news.
Tarek was no traitor, Suleiman. He too was tracking the Byzantines.
What? So did you...
I'm sorry.
God forgive me. You should not have been so quick to judge.
He was loyal to your grandfather to the end. And through his efforts, we have the means to save your city.
Tarek, you should not have been so secretive. What a terrible way to do a good thing.
The weapons were taken to Cappadocia. Can you get me there?
Yes, of course. I will arrange a ship to take you.
Suleiman! Suleiman! I have been set up and made to look a traitor. Do you remember Tarek, the Janissary?
The man you quarreled with?
He has been murdered. It is no secret that he and I were at odds. Now the Janissaries will accuse me of this crime.
This is terrible news, Uncle.
When word gets back to my father, he will banish me from the city. Ah, forgive me, nephew. I was not aware that you had a guest.
This is Marcello, one of my European advisors in Cafe.
Buonasera.
Marcello, my nephew and I have a private matter to discuss.
As I said, there will be a ship waiting for you when you wish to leave.
Grazie, mio principe.
We will track down the perpetrator of this crime, Uncle. Have patience.
With Tarek dead and Amet occupied with damage control, Ezio returns to the bookshop to visit Sofia once more to see if she has closed in on the location of more Polo books.
Enjoying the poem?
Who were these men he condemned to hell?
Political opponents. Men who wronged him. Alighieri's quill cuts deeply, no?
See, it is a subtle way to seek revenge.
Ezio, I plan to make a trip to Adrianople in a few weeks to visit a new printing press there.
That should be fun.
It is a 5 or 6 day ride from here, and I will need an escort.
Prego.
Oh, I'm sorry. You are a busy man.
Sofia, I would love to accompany you, but my time is running short.
That is true for all of us. Well, I can try to solve this last code now, but I need to run an errand before sundown. Can you wait a day?
What do you need?
It is silly, but a bouquet of fresh flowers. White tulips, specifically.
I can get you the flowers. Nessun problema.
Are you sure?
It will be a nice change of pace.
Bene. Meet me in the park east of Hagia Sophia, and we will trade. Flowers for information.
This is probably one of the more infamous missions in Assassin's Creed Revelations, and I know the AC community has memed it a bit because it's so seemingly inconsequential, but I really like it. As is common with all of these Sofia missions, it's a change of pace and it shows a side to Ezio that we really didn't see in Brotherhood. In Brotherhood, Ezio was very brooding, serious and ambitious, whereas in Revelations, he's a lot more laid back, wise and comfortable with who he is. Seeing him and Sofia interact and get to know each other better is really wholesome, so I always value these missions. Sofia has asked Ezio to get some white tulips for her, and so being the absolute Chad he is, Ezio just wanders out into the city with the intention of finding the flowers. Speaking to the flower merchant proves useless as he has no flowers in stock, but insists that Ezio waits an hour or two as he knows a place he can get some. Not wanting to wait that long, Ezio tails the man to the location of the tulips, cuts a few for himself, and then promptly returns to Sofia.
What is this?
A gift. Sit. Che belli, grazie. I wanted to thank you for letting me play a small role in your adventure.
A small role is enough for this adventure, believe me.
You are a mystery, Ezio Auditore.
Mi dispiace. I do not mean to be.
It is fine. È affascinante.
Sembra squisito.
Why, thank you.
Any luck with the final code?
Ah, the code, see. I solved it many hours ago. You will get it soon enough.
This scene is where Ezio and Sofia's friendship blossoms into more of a romance, as it is evident they both like each other. My boy Ezio has still got that Auditore charm even in his 50s, the absolute silver fox. Anyway, Sofia's found the location of the next Polo book, and so he heads off to find it. This is the final book that Ezio must find, so we're nearing the end of our adventure. Or so the game wants you to think at this point. The last Polo book leads Ezio to the Maiden's Tower, which is another really fun mission. This is actually a very Tomb Raider feeling mission for some reason, as Ezio scales the moss covered walls of these ruins, using the counterweights to drain the water, revealing more parkour routes. It's just such a cool mission, and one of my favourite Reclaim the Masyaf Key missions in the entire game. This one in particular really felt like one of those old assassin tombs in Assassin's Creed 2. Feels like so long ago since we talked about those in detail, right? Upon reclaiming the Masyaf Key, as usual Ezio returns to the Assassin HQ to study the disc, reliving another short portion of Altair's life.
They say he screams in his sleep, calling out for his father.
Abbas, what a miserable man.
It is not our place to judge. It certainly is. If our master has gone mad, I would like to know.
Shh. Good evening.
Water.
Of course. Sit.
Many thanks.
What brings you here, old man?
Pity Abbas. Do not mock him. He has lived as an orphan for most of his life, shaped by his family's legacy. He is desperate for power, because he is powerless.
He is our mentor, and unlike Al-Mualim or Altair, he never betrayed us.
Nonsense. Altair was no traitor. He was driven out, unjustly. Is it you? I heard rumors, but I did not believe them.
I wonder if I might speak to Abbas myself. It's been a long time.
Impossible. Abbas uses rogue Fedayeen to keep us from the castle.
Fewer than half the fighters here are true assassins.
So, where do I begin?
With us.
I absolutely adore this scene so much. It's brilliant in the game and in the Secret Crusade novel. How originally these young assassins think he's just an old man sitting down for a rest, and slowly realise that he is Altair back after the tragedy that befell Maria nearly 30 years ago. There's actually a really cool moment in the book where this 90-year-old Altair gets held up on his way to Masyaf by two bandits, and he single-handedly takes them out in direct combat with nothing other than his hidden blade. It's such a well-written fight because it shows Altair's age and how taking on two guys, which would have been no problem for him in his youth, now proves to be dangerous due to his age, but he still wins because, well, he's Altair. Anyway, that was quite the tangent. Altair begins making his way through the streets of Masyaf towards the castle where Abbas resides. As he gets close to the castle, some of the assassins refer to him as mentor, assisting him on his journey to the castle. However, some are loyal to Abbas and drunk on power, so they attempt to kill Altair, but are ultimately defeated in the process. Finally, Altair makes it to the castle, and the assassins seem reluctant to stand against him, with one of them even cheering, "Our mentor has returned." Altair then walks through the door of Masyaf's castle to confront Abbas after all these years.
Tell your men to stand down!
No! I am defending Masyaf! Would you not do the same?
You corrupted everything we stand for and lost everything we gained. All of it sacrificed on the altar of your own spite.
And you! You have wasted your life, staring into that apple, dreaming of your own glory.
That is true, Abbas. I learned many things from the apple. Of life and death, of the past and the future. Let me show you.
I can never forgive you, Altair. The lies you told about my family, my father, the humiliation I suffered.
They were not lies, Abbas. I was 10 years old when your father came to see me. He was in tears, begging to be forgiven for betraying my family. Then he cut his own throat. I watched his life ebb away at my feet. I will never forget that image.
No!
But he was not a coward, Abbas. He reclaimed his honor.
I hope there is another life after this one. Then I will see him and know the truth of his final days. And when it is your time, we will find you. And then there will be no doubts.
The confession scene between Altair and Abbas is one of the best moments in the entire AC franchise. If you've read the Secret Crusade book, you'd recall the moment where Altair is a boy and Abbas' father comes into his room and slices his own throat in front of him. Altair and Abbas used to be best friends and train together. There's even a joke they have where Altair used to cover one of his eyes and do an impression of Al-Mualim. And yet, when Altair told Abbas what his father had done to himself, he couldn't believe it and accused Altair of trying to bring shame upon his family. This is what ultimately started their rivalry and led them on this path. I also want to say how cool it was to see Altair use the hidden gun for the first time. It was such a great payoff moment, as clearly Abbas just wasn't expecting it whatsoever. Returning to Ezio, this actually isn't quite the end of the memory sequence just yet. We have a boat to catch. Ezio meets with Yusuf in the streets of Constantinople to discuss the chain that has been raised by the Janissaries to stop boats getting to and from the city.
Ezio Auditore! Word around the city is you're leaving us.
Is nothing I do a secret.
Not to worry, brother. The captain of your ship is a friend, but neither of you are going anywhere just yet. The Janissaries have raised the chain across the mouth of the Halych and ordered a full blockade until you are caught.
They raised the chain for me.
We will celebrate later. Here, I have something for you. Careful. This has 50 times the kick of our usual bombs.
You may remember this next mission is actually the E3 demo for Assassin's Creed Revelations, so I have a lot of fond memories of this one in particular. It's Ezio's job to use the bomb Yusuf gave him to blow the chain from the tower that is attached to. However, in doing so, this alerts the Ottoman soldiers to his location. This is where Ezio must improvise. He mounts the Greek fire cannon and uses it to burn the ships in the blockade. This bit's so cool, and is actually the only time you get to use any form of cannon or mounted gun in the game. The Greek fire quickly spreads to each of the ships, coating the harbour in a thick black smoke which dyes the sky orange with the roaring flames. This set piece is probably my favourite in the Ezio games, running through the burning shipwrecks, avoiding the guards as they clamber towards you, and finally leaping on the ship leading to Cappadocia. It's just absolutely perfect.
Yours is not a subtle approach.
See. Sorry for the delay.
Do you regret anything, Desmond?
Like what?
Running away? Leaving your parents behind, finding a shit job and pretending to be productive? What's it like spending your whole life avoiding hard decisions?
Come on.
Sure, you're an assassin, but it wasn't your choice.
Do you have a point?
I want to know if you regret anything.
Sure. I wish I'd been more patient with my parents. I wish I'd listened. And Lucy. Maybe things could have been different if I'd... I'm not sure.
Thank you.
For what?
For making sense.
It's been a while since we've heard from Desmond and Clay on Animus Island, so it's nice to have another scene with both of them. This one in particular shows the toll that everything is taking on Desmond's psyche. His life is catching up to him, the life that he tried so hard to escape when he ran away from the farm at 16 years old. Much like Ezio, Desmond is going through a very transformative period in his life, where he truly realises what he must do. I actually really loved these small scenes between Desmond and Clay. I just wish there were more of them. There's also a small piece of dialogue after this cutscene in which William, Sean and Rebecca discuss Desmond's high concentration of First Civ DNA, a very important aspect of Desmond's character. At this point you can really see the writers trying to slowly introduce more aspects of the Isu and how Desmond fits into their grand plan. What the story of Assassin's Creed could have been if it was kept in good hands.
I have left Constantinople and set sail for the interior of Anatolia, to a region called Cappadocia, where Manuel is training his soldiers. If I am lucky, I will not be alone, for there may be Ottoman spies in the area waiting to strike. But, as ever, I put stock only in myself, and hold the memory of dear Sophia close to my heart. Claudia, you would laugh to hear the racing thoughts of your brother now. I have come to admire Sophia with more affection than I thought possible. After the death of Christina, something withered in me. But that feeling, that capacity for love, has returned. I adore Sophia, but dare not drag her into this life of mine. Not without fear of hurting her, or driving her away. Of an army here, and no signs of Tariq's men.
Ezio arrives in Cappadocia with the intent of finding Manuel Palaiologos and finally putting an end to his plans to attack Constantinople. Tariq died trying to find him, so it's up to Ezio to finish his work, to honour the memory of the late Janissary captain. You also get cool new robes whilst in Cappadocia, designed to make Ezio look a lot less conspicuous in a place that has no assassin influence at all. There are no sign of any of the Ottoman spies anywhere, and so it's Ezio's duty to find them so he can work with them to find the Templars. Cappadocia's design in Revelations is absolutely superb too, with buildings etched into the cave walls and every available space being used for habitation. I particularly like the huge ray of sunlight penetrating through the cave. It really adds to a sense of foreboding in this ancient city. Ezio makes his way inside and sets off to find the Ottoman spies. Ezio explores around Cappadocia and manages to find what's left of the spies. Most of them were either captured or killed. All that remains are this woman and a few others who managed to escape the Templars with their lives. The woman, Dilara, later gets discovered and captured by the Byzantines, so Ezio easily sneaks into the prison and frees her. She's enraged that her comrades have been killed and runs off to find Shakulu, the man that has been put in charge of the preparations in Cappadocia. Ezio follows her to find Shakulu, torturing and beating the remaining survivors of the Ottoman spies.
You do not cooperate very well.
I'm here to rescue my men, not make friends. Right there.
That armor is too thick for bullets. I will have to get in close.
Jonas, we have to help him.
Ezio climbs around the various beams and broken pillars scattered around the arena, dispatching the guards overlooking Shikulu. He reaches the stone cross directly above Shikulu and leaps down to deliver the killing blow.
Men who make a fetish out of murder deserve no pity.
This moment was great, something we'd never seen in AC before. Shikulu grabs Ezio and shoves him off, after which a boss battle ensues. I say boss battle, it's really not that hard to take Shikulu down. What's even stranger is he doesn't even get a confession scene. Ezio just breaks his neck with his foot to make sure that he's dead and calls it a day. Anyway, the plan is to blow up the garrison that the Byzantines have stationed in Cappadocia, so using the gunpowder that Tarek gave to Palaiologos, Ezio infiltrates the small fortress and throws a bomb into the gunpowder barrels. A bomb that flushes out Manuel Palaiologos. With Shikulu dead, the weapons and gunpowder destroyed, and Palaiologos out in the open, all that's left is the easy part. Ezio chases Manuel through the smoke-covered streets of Cappadocia until there's nowhere left for the wretched old man to run.
You take advantage of a poor and displaced people, using us to further your own vain quest. But we fight for dignity, assassin. We fight to restore peace to this troubled land.
Templars are always quick to talk of peace, but very slow to concede power.
Because power begets peace, Flaka. It cannot happen in reverse. These people would drown without a firm hand to lift them up and keep them in line.
There he is. The monster I came to kill.
Come! I've just to reward you to death. I should have been Constantine's successor. He had so many plans.
Your dream dies with you, Manuel. Your empire is gone.
Ah. But I am not the only one with this vision, assassin. The dream of our order is universal. Ottoman, Byzantine. These are only labels. Costumes and facades. Beneath these trappings, all Templars are part of the same family.
Enough prattling. I am here for the Masyaf Key.
Then take it. Take it. And seek your fortune. See if you get within 100 leagues of that library before one of us finishes you off.
Poor Manuel, last of the Palaiologos. I should not have put him in charge of our Masyaf expedition. He was an arrogant man. Impossible to keep in line.
Disappoint me, Ahmed. Why the Templars?
Because I am tired of all of these pointless blood feuds that pit father against son, brother against brother. To achieve true peace, mankind must think and move as one body, with one mastermind. The secrets in the Grand Temple will give us just that. And Altair will lead us there.
Delusions! Altair's secrets are not for you.
I am not interested in arguing, Ezio. I am here for the Masyaf Keys.
Keys? Are there more than this one?
So I have heard. Perhaps I should ask someone who knows better. Sofia Sarto. Is that her name?
She knows nothing! Leave her be!
We shall see.
I will kill you if you touch her!
I know you'll try.
Ezio is driven out of Cappadocia by the Byzantines, and it's revealed that Prince Ahmet is now the leader of the Templars. His plan to stop Ezio from returning to Constantinople so that he can take Sophia Sator and learn the locations of the Masyaf Keys. Of course, this doesn't go fully according to plan, as Ezio easily dispatches the guards and runs through the streets of Cappadocia once more to escape the smoke that is now choking the inhabitants of the city. Ezio makes it out and returns to his boat to inspect the Masyaf Key that he took from Paleologos, leading to yet another Altair memory.
Niccolo Polo. Our time together was brief, I know. But I have faith this codex will answer the many questions you have yet to ask.
Altair, this gift is invaluable. Grazie.
So, where will you go next?
Back to Constantinople for a time. We will establish a guild there before returning to Venezia.
Your son Marco will be eager to hear his father's wild stories.
He is a little young for such tales, but one day soon, see?
Father, a vanguard of Mongols has broken through. The village is overrun.
Niccolo, your cargo and provisions are waiting for you by the village gates. We will escort you there.
Thank you, Mentor.
Ready the catapults and watch for my signal. Stay close.
This memory takes place with Altair as an established mentor of the assassins once more. The Mongols are attacking Masyaf, and so Altair uses the Apple of Eden to escort the Polos away from the village. This is such a great payoff moment. Not only being able to play as Altair, but using the apple to its full potential. It uses basically the same mechanic as Brotherhood, hold square or X to charge the apple's power. However, this time instead of the apple either outright killing people or controlling the minds of your enemies, it's able to summon apparitions of assassins that dispatch the enemies for you. After fighting through the horde of Mongols, Altair, Niccolo Polo and Maffeo Polo reach the gates of Masyaf, and they part ways, with Altair asking them to hide the Masyaf Keys as best they can.
Father, are you hurt?
Give me a moment. The end of an era. When I was very young, I was foolish enough to believe that our creed would bring an end to all these conflicts. If only I had possessed the humility to say to myself, I have seen enough for one life. I have done my part. Then again, there is no greater glory than fighting to find the truth.
We are ready.
A last favor, Niccolo. Take these with you and guard them well. Hide them if you must.
Artifacts?
Of a kind. They are keys. Each one imbued with a message.
A message for whom?
I wish I knew.
Forgive the haste of my handwriting, Claudia. Much has transpired, and little of it good. I am on a ship bound for Constantinople, in pursuit of a man whose treachery has eluded me until now. Prince Ahmed, Suleiman's uncle, is the man leading Templars here. He is the mastermind behind their Masyaf expedition, and he will stop at nothing to retrieve the keys, all of which are now in assassin hands. So what holds me back? Why do I not take the keys to Masyaf myself and be done with these fools? Because I have been careless. Because the Templars know about Sophia, and they are looking for her. Oh, Claudia, if anything should happen to her, I could not live with myself. I have dragged her into a war she knows nothing about. And it will be my burden to bear if she comes to any harm.
Citizens of the Empire and travelers from foreign lands take heed. By order of the Janissaries, new restrictions apply to all who travel to and from the city. Note that a reward of 10,000 akçe will be given without question to anyone who brings in information that leads to the immediate arrest of the suikastçı, Ezio Auditore.
Ezio returns to Constantinople, and the guards are on high alert. Ahmet has also put out a bounty on Ezio's head so that he needs to keep his head low if he wants to keep Sophia from harm. As we know, Prince Ahmet threatened to harm Sophia if Ezio didn't give up the Masyaf Keys, so he heads to the bookstore to look for her.
Earned your rest, brother. Requiescat in pace.
Brothers, sisters, the whole city rises against us, while Yusuf's murderer waits and watches from the arsenal, laughing. Fight with me, and show him what it means to cross the assassins.
This is a death that actually hits quite hard. Yusuf is always the nice guy that comes to the aid of Ezio whenever he needs him. He was the first assassin that we were introduced to as soon as we reached Constantinople, so seeing his death is a very sad moment. Ezio is also clearly not best pleased. His enraged speech during this scene always gives me goosebumps. At this point, Ezio is clearly sick of losing those he holds dear, and is out to kill Ahmet and retrieve the Masyaf Keys. Ezio rallies the assassins and storms into the arsenal. Throughout the duration of this memory, you're given infinite assassin signals, meaning you can just walk right through without any fear of being touched by the guards. After making his way through the arsenal, Ezio finally reaches Ahmet.
Where is she?
Such fury.
Where is she?
If you think you are in a position to negotiate, kill me and be done with it. I am sorry it had to come to this. Two men who should be friends, quarreling over the keys to a library. We both strive for the same end, Ezio. Only our methods differ. Do you not see that? Peace, stability, a world where men live without fear. People desire the truth, yes. But even when they have it, they refuse to look. How do we fight this kind of ignorance?
Liberty can be messy, Ahmet, but it is priceless.
Of course. And when things fall apart, and the lights of civilization dim, Ezio Auditore can stand above the darkness and say proudly, I stayed true to my creed. I will open that library, and I will find the Grand Temple. And with the power that is hidden there, I will destroy the superstitions that keep men divided.
Not in this life, Ahmet.
Bring the seals to Galata Tower when you are ready. Do this, and Sophia will be spared. My brother's army will be here soon, Ezio. After that, everything changes.
How long have you been here?
Long enough. I had Ahmet killed as soon as he returned. But I never expected to hear all this.
And what do you think?
He is a sincere man. But this Templar fantasy of his is dangerous. It flies in the face of reality. The world is a tapestry of many colors and patterns. A just leader would celebrate this, not seek to unravel it.
He fears the disorder that comes from difference.
That is why we make laws to live by. A qanun that applies to all in equal measure. Shahzadem, stand back! Hold, soldier! This man is not our enemy.
What a challenge it would be to have a son like you.
You are not dead yet. old friend. Ezio, spare my uncle if you can.
Would your father?
No.
The dialogue in this scene between Ezio and Ahmet, and Ezio and Suleiman, is absolutely brilliant. I love how it discusses some of the key contradictions between the Assassins and Templars, and the varying methods each faction uses to reach their goal of peace. Ahmet is not a true Templar per se, but he does seek the supposed power of Altair's library to bring peace to his people. A noble goal, but kidnapping a woman and killing Ezio's friends is not a way to achieve that. Ezio is to meet Ahmet at the Galata Tower in order to exchange the Masyaf Keys for Sofia, but of course Ezio doesn't actually intend to allow Ahmet to keep them. It's just right now his utmost concern is keeping Sofia safe. And so Ezio heads to the Galata Tower to speak to his recruits before meeting with Ahmet.
Mentor?
Now should be a time for remembrance and mourning, I know. But our enemies do not permit us that luxury. Yusuf thought highly of you, assassin, and I find no reason to second-guess this judgment. Do you have it in your heart to lead these men and women, and to maintain the dignity of our order, as Yusuf did with such passion?
It would be an honor.
Bene, I am glad. Our enemy is close. Take positions around the tower, and wait for my command.
Ezio and his assassins make their way to the meeting with Ahmet. The two leaders speak for a while and tensions are high. It seems trust is little between the two. Ezio has the upper hand until Ahmet reveals that Sofia is being held on top of the Galata Tower, and it's obvious she isn't safe. Ezio throws the Masyaf Keys to Ahmet and immediately begins climbing the Galata Tower to reach her. Once he reaches the top, it's revealed that the woman isn't Sofia at all, just a decoy. Ahmet must have known that Ezio would have made sure Sofia was safe and then pursued him to reclaim the keys, so he put this decoy Sofia here as a way to slow Ezio down. The real Sofia is actually being hanged from a nearby tree. This was obviously another last-ditch attempt from Ahmet to keep Ezio from pursuing him, as he would be occupied with making sure Sofia is okay.
Are you hurt?
Not hurt, but very confused.
I did not mean to drag you into this. I'm sorry.
You're not responsible for the actions of other men.
All this will be over soon, but I need to recover what they have taken.
I do not understand what is happening. Ezio, who are these men?
Run!
What Ahmet didn't foresee was that Ezio would easily save Sofia and the two would ride after him, immediately making chase in an attempt to reclaim the Masyaf Keys. Here we have the last carriage set piece in the game and the last carriage set piece of the Ezio Trilogy. It's without a doubt the best of them as we ride through the fields surrounding Constantinople with the setting sun painting the sky orange. Ezio falls from the carriage but manages to activate his parachute in time, causing him to fly into the air, attached to the moving carriage via a rope tied to the parachute. This is a great finale chase and really reminds me of the glider section from AC2, as you can swoop down and assassinate guards that are chasing Sofia. The logistics and physics of this set piece really don't make sense, but my god is it cool. After successfully defending Sofia and catching up to Ahmet, Ezio manages to jump to his carriage, causing Ahmet to crash into a nearby wall, sending both of the men flying off the cliff. Even though they're free falling, Ezio and Ahmet still grapple in the air, struggling to overcome the other. After a few moments of falling and fighting, Ezio releases his parachute once more, but Ahmet clings onto him as they both float down to the ground below.
So what now, Ezio? How does this end?
I am wondering that myself.
Oh!
Soldiers! Selim is not your master! You serve the Sultan! You carry out his command alone! Where is he? Where is the Sultan?
He stands before you, brother. Father made his choice.
Selim! Stop! Please!
So, you are the assassin. Ezio Auditore. I am Selim, Suleiman's father. He speaks quite highly of you.
He is a remarkable boy with a magnificent mind.
Were it not for his endorsement, I would have you killed where you stand. Leave this place. Do not return.
You did the right thing, Ezio. This is not your fight.
But where does one end and the next begin?
There we have it. Ezio's final adventure is nearly over. With Amet and all the major Templars in Constantinople defeated, it's time for Sophia and Ezio to head to Masyaf, to finally lay his father's legacy to rest, but not before catching up with Desmond and Claire on Animus Island one last time.
Here it comes! What is that? What's going on? This is the end, Desmond. Scheduled for deletion. What are you doing? What is a man but the sum of his memories? We are the stories we live, the tales we tell ourselves. Don't do this. I'm saving you, idiot! Go! Go!
This scene is so good. Even though it's short, it's one of those scenes in Revelations that really made its mark on me. With the beautifully composed soundtrack swelling in the background, Subject 16 makes his one last hurrah, saving Desmond from having his consciousness deleted by the Animus, and imprinting his knowledge into Desmond by grabbing him and sending him into the Sync Nexus. It was such an impactful scene in 2011. Subject 16 was a character whose story was drip-fed to us over the course of the entire franchise, all the way from finding the bloodstained symbols in Desmond's room in Abstergo in the original Assassin's Creed, finding his puzzles in the Animus in Assassin's Creed 2, finding his recorded messages in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and finally meeting him in this game. His final moments confirmed to us that Subject 16 wasn't the ominous man we thought he was all this time, just a guy who got caught up in the secret war between Assassins and Templars, trying to do the right thing. Same as Desmond. Anyway, with that, it's time we finish this and see what awaits Ezio and Sophia in Altair's library.
I write these lines with a steady hand and a light heart. We are in Acre now, Sophia and I, with the 5 Masyaf Keys in our possession, and all the time in the world. Sophia is a seasoned traveler, and a fine companion to have so far from home. Tomorrow we will make our way to Masyaf, and once there, into Altair's library, to fulfill our father's forgotten dream. Forgive the shortness of this letter, dear sister, for it is late, and we are tired. Perhaps, with luck, the next words you hear from me will be in person. Con affetto, Ezio.
Here we go, lads. We made it to the final sequence. I'll be interested to see how many of you made it this far in the video, as right now, as I'm writing the script, I know it's going to be hours long. The dialogue between Sophia and Ezio as they walk up the slopes towards Masyaf Castle is brilliant. Ezio can finally open up to her and discuss the nature of the assassins. They talk about the Maxim, the origins of the assassins and their history. It's a really nice moment from a lore and character perspective. Lastly, Ezio talks about the whole reason he started this journey in the first place, how this life chose him, and how for the last 30 years he has served the memory of Giovanni, Federico and Petruccio, fighting for those who have suffered the pain of injustice. One line that really stuck out to me was, "I do not regret those years, but it is time to live for myself, and to let them go. To let go of all of this." This moment is Ezio's realization that although he has done his duty as an assassin to protect the free will of the people, he also must do what Altair did not, and know when to say he has seen enough for one life, and to live for himself. It's just a very emotional piece of dialogue, because we've had a whole trilogy of games with this character, and this is the moment in which it's truly realised that this is his final adventure with us, and it's time for us to say goodbye to Ezio Auditore. In response to Ezio's wishes to let go of his past, Sophia replies, "Then let go. You will not fall far," which I think is just a beautifully written piece of dialogue. No more needs to be said. He's letting go of the only life he has known for the last 30 years, and she will catch him when he does so. Finally, after all this time, the two approach the door to Altair's library, with all 5 Masyaf keys in hand.
You had better come out of there alive.
I plan to.
Ezio walks through the entrance to Altair's library and begins lighting the torches lining the walls of the corridor to light his way. We are greeted by some old music from Assassin's Creed 1, the Masyaf theme. It was so great hearing this music used in Revelations for the first time, because it was such a subtle way of referencing what had come before it, and how Ezio was currently in the very same castle that Altair had once called home for most of his life. As he walks through the dim corridor, the room opens up into a large stone room lined with empty bookshelves with a chair in the centre, and sat in that chair is Altair himself, holding the final Masyaf key containing his last memories.
No books. No wisdom. Just you, fratello mio. Requiescat in pace, Altair. You have seen to my books?
Yes. Some we sent with the Polos. The rest will go with me to Alexandria.
Good. Very good.
Father, I do not understand. Why did you build a library if you did not intend to keep your books?
You should go. When the Mongols return, Masyaf must be empty.
I see. This is not a library at all. It is a vault.
It must stay hidden, Darim. Far from eager hands. At least until it has passed on the secret it contains.
What secret?
Go, son. Go be with your family. And live well.
All that is good in me began with you, Father.
The final memory of Altair begins with him speaking with Darim, his eldest son and only remaining family member. He says his goodbyes to Darim and closes the door to his library once and for all. You may notice that the beginning of this memory is similar to the end of Ezio's last memory. However, instead of lighting the torches, you put them out. I don't know why, I always like this mirroring of Ezio and Altair's actions. As you walk through this corridor once more, you get nice pieces of dialogue from important characters in Altair's life. Most notably Al-Mualim quoting the Bible, "For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow." This quote proves very true in Altair's case. He spent most of his life pondering over the apple and trying to understand the secrets of the first civilization, but never fully uncovering the truth. His wisdom led him to obsession with the apple, and even though he didn't use it for evil, it still consumed his life in many ways, especially after Maria and his youngest son Seth died. Granted, Altair was able to lock the apple away in Masyaf Castle as he's doing right now, and he also was able to write the codex and develop new assassin weapons and techniques, but at the cost of his entire life, because he dedicated his life to protecting the apple, studying it and making sure that its knowledge was documented for the assassins of future generations. After making his way to the back of the library, Altair finally locks the apple away, and in turn completes his duty as an assassin. Ezio now knows that the purpose of Altair's library was simply to lock the apple away from people that had no business with it, waiting for it to be found by the right person. Although, Ezio has no intentions of getting involved this time around, as his time as an assassin is over. Now comes my personal favourite moment from any Assassin's Creed game, Ezio's final speech. This moment is just absolutely amazing, from the music, the acting and writing, and just the feeling of complete finality of it all. This character, Ezio Auditore, that we've gotten to know over the course of 3 games, is saying his final words on screen, and I just think this moment holds so much emotional weight. I could sit here and talk about it forever, but I'd rather just let it play for you guys, as it's one of those scenes that speaks more words than I could ever analyse. I also just want to say, this cutscene leads onto a particularly long one that I'm also going to let play out, as it's quite important in setting up the sequel to Revelations, Assassin's Creed 3. It shows the direction of the story, and for the first time we actually get to fully learn what happened to the first civilization and what they tried to do to escape the cataclysm. So yeah, we made it to the end. The final cutscenes. I'll see you on the flip side.
Another artifact. No. You will stay here. I have seen enough for one life. Desmond?
He's talking to me?
I heard your name once before, Desmond. A long time ago. And now it lingers in my mind, like an image from an old dream. I do not know where you are, or by what means you can hear me. But I know you are listening. I have lived my life as best I could, not knowing its purpose, but drawn forward like a moth to a distant moon. And here at last, I discover a strange truth. That I am only a conduit for a message that eludes my understanding. Who are we, who have been so blessed to share our stories like this? To speak across centuries. Maybe you will answer all the questions I have asked. Maybe you will be the one to make all this suffering worth something in the end. Now, listen.
Do you hear me, Cypher? Can you see me? Ah, there you are. Good. A strange place, this nexus of time. I am not used to the calculations. That has always been Minerva's domain. I see you still have many questions. Who were we? What became of us? What do we desire of you? You will have your answers. Only listen, and I will tell you how. Both before the end and after, we sought to save the world.
We built vaults within which to work, each dedicated to a different method of salvation. They were placed underground to avoid the war which raged above, and also as a precaution should we fail in our efforts. Each vault's knowledge was transmitted to a single place. It was our duty, mine, Minerva's, and Juno's, to sort and sample all that was collected. We chose those solutions which held the most promise, and devoted ourselves to testing their merits. 6 we tried in succession, each more encouraging than the last, but none worked. And then the world ended. The earth shook for days, the fires burned for weeks, and when the ash had settled, less than 10,000 of your kind still lived, and far fewer of ours. But we carried on, together, to rebuild, to renew. Listen, you must go there, to the place where we labored and lost. Take my words. Pass them from your head into your hands. That is how you will open the way. But be warned, much still remains in flux, and I do not know how things will end, either in my time or yours.
Wait, look, his vitals are stabilizing. Something's happening. He's moving.
Desmond, can you hear me? Son?
I know what we need to do.
Thanks for joining me for my retrospective on Assassin's Creed Revelations. If you've joined me these last 3 years for each of my Ezio Trilogy retrospectives, then I thank you for joining me on this dive into the games that made me appreciate storytelling on a whole new level. Assassin's Creed Revelations has become a much more important game to me as I've gotten older, because not only is it the story of acknowledging what has come before, but it's also the story of letting go of familiarity and knowing when to accept change. In my opinion, Revelations is the perfect ending to Ezio and Altair's stories, and was the very last game in the Assassin's Creed franchise that it was at the top of its game. It tells the story of a wise and wary Ezio, on a journey to finally honour his father's legacy and discover what resides within Altair's library. But on the way he discovers love, camaraderie, pain and anger, but most of all, true wisdom. The wisdom to live for himself and no one else. I want to say, I am going to be going back and doing a video on the original Assassin's Creed for a 15 years later video this year, as well as a 10-year retrospective on Assassin's Creed 3. Hopefully. Although you guys know how bad I am at being on time with these retrospectives. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this in the future, and don't mind wildly inconsistent upload. And thanks again for joining me for this deep dive into the narrative and gameplay of Assassin's Creed Revelations. Thanks for watching everyone. Take care. So yeah, we're not actually quite done yet. There's still a little bit more of Ezio's story that I want to tell, and I'm going to take this opportunity in the epilogue of the video to do so. In my Assassin's Creed Brotherhood retrospective, I highlighted how it was a shame that we never see or hear from Machiavelli and Leonardo again after the events of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and that their stories were actually wrapped up in the book, Assassin's Creed Revelations, written by Oliver Bowden. You actually get to witness Leonardo's final moments with Ezio, as well as Ezio's death, and I'd like to go back and read sections from the Revelations book just to tell this final bit of his story. So join me as we take a little detour to Florence in 1518 to the Villa Auditore, as Ezio is gently nursing a glass of wine as he writes about his life. Early one evening, near the beginning of the following spring, Ezio sat alone by the fire in his dining hall, a glass of his own read by him. He had a pen and paper and was trying to make a start for the umpteenth time on chapter 16, but he found recollection far less interesting than action, and after a while, as always, he impatiently pushed the manuscript away. Reaching for his glass, he was overcome by a fit of painful coughing, knocking it over. It fell with a terrible clatter, spilling wine all over the olive wood surface of his table, but it did not break. He stood to retrieve it as it rolled toward the edge of the table, and righted it, as Sophia came in, attracted by the noise. "Are you alright, Amore?" "It's nothing. I'm sorry about the mess. Hand me a cloth." "Forget the cloth. You need to rest." Ezio groped for a chair as Sophia stood by his side, easing him down. "Sit," she commanded gently. As he did so, she picked up the unlabeled bottle, wrapped a small towel around his neck, and checked the level of wine left in it. "Best cure for a cold," said Ezio sheepishly. "Has Niccolo arrived yet?" "He is right behind me," she replied, adding dryly, "I'd better bring you another bottle. This one, I see, is nearly empty. A writer needs his fuel." Machiavelli had entered the room with the lack of ceremony he was entitled to as an old friend and a frequent guest. He took the cloth from Sophia. "Here, let me." He wiped the glass, then the tabletop. Ezio watched him, a slightly sour look on his face. "I invited you here to drink, not clean up after me." Machiavelli finished the job before he replied with a smile. "I can do both. A tidy room and a good glass of wine are all a man needs to feel content." Ezio laughed mockingly. "Rubbish! You sound like a character from one of your plays." "You've never seen one of his plays," put in Sophia, shaking her head. Ezio was embarrassed. "Well, I can imagine." "Can you? Then why not put that imagination to work? Why don't you buckle down and get on with this?" He indicated the neglected manuscript. "We've been over this, Niccolo. I don't write. I'm a father, a husband, a winemaker. I'm quite happy with that." "Fair enough." Sophia had fetched a fresh bottle of red and placed it by them, with 2 clean glasses and clean napkins. "I'll leave you two to discuss literature together," she said. "Once I've helped Andrea get the children to bed, I've got some writing of my own to do." "What's that?" asked Machiavelli. "Never you mind," she said. "I'll just wait to see what you think of the wine. He's been fretting about it. Through several bottles. She'll get her book finished well before you do yours," said Machiavelli. Never mind that, said Ezio. Taste this. Last year's harvest. A disaster. If you ask for my judgment, you shall have it. He sipped the wine Ezio had poured him, rolled it around his mouth, savouring it, and swallowed. It's delicious, he smiled. Sangiovese again, or have you changed? Sophia's face broke into a grin as she rubbed Ezio's shoulder. You see, she said. A blend, said Ezio, pleased. But mainly my old Sangiovese. I didn't really think it was all that bad. My grapes are the best. Of course they are. Machiavelli took another deep draught. Ezio smiled, though Sophia noticed that his hand went to his chest surreptitiously to massage it. Come on, said Ezio. There's still some light left in the sky. I'll show you. They went outside and walked down the avenue leading to the vineyards. Trebbiano for white, Ezio said, waving his hand at a row of vines. You must have some with dinner. We're getting tonno al cartoccio, Serena's specialty. I love the way she cooks tuna, Machiavelli replied. He looked around. You've done well, Ezio. Leonardo would have been proud to see what you have cultivated here. Only because I'm using the tools he gave me, said Ezio, laughing. He'd be jealous. I sell twice as much wine as he ever does from his vineyards in Porta Vercinella. Still, he should never have sent that rascal Salai back from Amboise to run the place. Then he paused. What do you mean, he would have been proud? Machiavelli's face grew grave. I've had a letter. It's to both of us, actually, but it takes forever for the post to get out here to Fiesole. Look, Ezio, he's not too well. He'd like to see us. Ezio squared his shoulders. When do we start? He said. They reached the Clos Lucé, the manor house near the chateau at Amboise, which King Francis had given Leonardo as part of the package of his patronage in late April. The Loire flowed at an easy pace, the banks of its brown waters crowded with trees in new leaf. They rode through the gates of the manor, down an avenue lined with cypress trees, to be met by a manservant. Leaving their horses in the care of an ostler, they followed the manservant into the house. In a large, airy room, its open windows overlooking the park to the rear, lay Leonardo on a chaise lounge, dressed in a yellow brocade gown and half covered by a bearskin rug. His long white hair and beard were straggly, and he had gone bald on top, but his eyes still shone brightly, and he half rose to greet them. My dear friends, I'm so glad you've come. Etienne, bring us wine and cakes. You're not supposed to have cakes, let alone wine. Look here, who pays your wages? Never mind, don't answer that. The same man that pays mine, I know. Just do as you're told. The manservant bowed and left, soon to return with a tray, which he placed ceremoniously on a nearby polished table before taking his leave again. But as he did so, he bowed once more and said to Leonardo's guests, You must forgive the disorder. It's our way. Machiavelli and Ezio shared a smile. The polished table and the gleaming tray were an island in a rough sea of chaos. Leonardo's habits hadn't changed. How are things, old friend? Asked Ezio, taking a seat near the artist. I can't complain, but I'm interested in moving on, Leonardo said, trying to make his voice sound stronger than it was. What do you mean? Said Ezio, concerned that his friend was using some kind of euphemism. I'm not talking about dying, said Leonardo, irritably. I'm talking about England. Their new king's very interested in building up his navy. I'd like to get over there and sell him my submarine. The Venetians never did pay me, you know. They never built it. That's beside the point. Don't you have enough to occupy your mind here? Asked Machiavelli. Leonardo gave him an outraged look. If you can call creating a mechanical lion occupying my mind, he snapped. That was my liege lord's last commission. I ask you, a mechanical lion that walks along and roars, and as a finale, his breast opens and reveals a basket of lilies, he snorted. Good enough in itself, I suppose, but to demand such a gigaw of me, the inventor of flying machines and tanks, and parachutes, Ezio added softly. Did it come in handy? Very handy. Good. Leonardo waved a hand toward the tray. Help yourselves, but not me. His voice fell a little. Etienne's right. The most I can stomach these days is warm milk. They were silent. Then Machiavelli said, "Do you still paint?" Leonardo grew sad. "I'd like to, but somehow I've lost the force. Can't seem to finish things anymore. But I've left Salai the Gioconda in my will. It might help him out in his old age. I think Francis would love to buy it. Mind you, I wouldn't give you tuppence for it myself. Not my best work. Not by far. I prefer the thing I did of dear little Salai as John the Baptist." His voice trailed off, and he looked into the middle distance at nothing. That dear boy. Such a pity I had to let him go. I miss him so much, but he was wretched here. He's better off looking after the vineyards. "I tend vines myself these days," said Ezio softly. "I know. Good for you. Much more sensible for a man of your age than running around hacking off the heads of Templars." Leonardo paused. "I'm afraid they will always be with us, whatever we do. Perhaps it's better to bow to the inevitable." "Never say that," cried Ezio. "Sometimes we have no choice," Leonardo replied sadly. There was silence again. Then Machiavelli said, "What's this talk of wills, Leonardo?" Leonardo looked at him. "Oh, Niccolo, what's the point of pretense? I'm dying. That's why I asked you to come. We three have been through so much. I wanted to say goodbye." "I thought you had plans to visit King Henry of England." "He's a bullish young puppy, and I'd like to," Leonardo replied. "But I won't. I can't. This room is the last place I'll ever see. And the trees outside, full of birds, you know, especially now it's spring again." He lay silent for so long, without moving, that the two friends looked at each other in alarm. But then Leonardo stirred. "Did I nod off?" he asked. "I shouldn't. I don't have time for sleep. Be getting enough of that soon enough." Then he was silent again. He was asleep once more. "We'll come back tomorrow," said Ezio gently. He and Machiavelli rose and made for the door. "Come back tomorrow!" Leonardo's voice stopped them in their tracks. "We'll talk some more." They turned to him as he raised himself on one elbow. The bare skin fell from his knees, and Machiavelli stooped to replace it. "Thank you, Niccolo." Leonardo looked at them. "I'll tell you a secret. All my life, while I thought I was learning how to live, I've simply been learning how to die." They were there with him a week later when he breathed his last, in the small hours of May the 2nd. But he no longer knew them. He was already gone. "Rumours are already going around," said Machiavelli as they rode sadly homeward, "that King Francis cradled his head in his arms as he died." Ezio spat. "Some people, even kings, will do anything for publicity," he said. The next day was fine and fresh. They had stayed in Florence for lunch, and Sophia was bent on making just a few more purchases before the journey home. Ezio, walking down the street a few paces behind his wife and children, suddenly winced as a fit of coughing took him. He leaned against a wall for support. In a moment, Sophia was by his side. "You should have stayed at home." He smiled at her. "I am home." "Sit down here." She indicated a nearby bench. "Wait for us. We'll be right over there. Only take a minute or two." He nodded, watching her rejoin the children and wander off a little farther down the street. He made himself comfortable, letting the pain subside. He watched the people walking to and fro, going about their daily business. He felt pleased and enjoyed watching them. He breathed in the smells of the market as it broke up around him. He listened to the sound the traders made. "I love it here," he said to himself. Home. Home at last. His reverie was interrupted by the peevish voice of a young Italian, who plumped himself down on the bench near him. The young man was talking, apparently to himself. He didn't look at Ezio. "Al diavolo! I hate this damn city. I wish I were in Rome. I hear the women there are, like ripe Sangiovese on the vine, you know? Not like here. Firenze!" He spat on the ground. Ezio looked at him. "I don't think Florence is your problem," he remarked, pained at what the young man had said. "I beg your pardon?" Ezio was about to reply, But the pain seized him again, and he winced and started to gasp. The young man turned to him. "Steady, old man." He grabbed Ezio's wrist as Ezio caught his breath. Looking down at the hand that held him, Ezio thought the grip was uncommonly strong, and there was something strange, almost familiar, about the man's expression. But he was probably imagining it all. He shook his head to clear it. The young man looked at Ezio closely and smiled. Ezio returned the look. "Get some rest, eh?" the young man said. He rose to his feet and walked away. Ezio nodded in belated agreement, watching him go. Then he leaned back, seeking Sophia in the thinning crowd, and he saw her at a stall, buying vegetables, and there beside her were Flavia and Marcello, baiting each other, playing together. He closed his eyes and took some deep breaths. His breathing calmed. The young man was right. He should get some rest. Sophia was packing the vegetables she'd brought into a basket when something cold crept into her heart. She looked up, then around, back to where Ezio sat. There was something about the way he was sitting. Confused, not wanting to admit what she feared to herself, she put a hand to her mouth and hurried across to him, leaving the children playing where they were. As she got closer, she slowed her pace, looking at him. She sat down by his side, taking his hand, and then she leaned forward, pressing her forehead against his hair. One or two people looked in their direction, then one or two more, with concern. But otherwise, life in the street went on. Much later that day, back home, and having sent Machiavelli away, Sophia took herself into the den. The children were in bed. She didn't think what had happened had sunk in for them yet. In the den, the fire had gone out. She lit a candle. She walked to the desk and picked up the neatly stacked sheaf of papers, tied with a ribbon that lay on it. She began to read.
When I was a young man, I had liberty, but I did not see it. I had time, but I did not know it. And I had love, but I did not feel it. Many decades would pass before I understood the meaning of all three. And now, in the twilight of my life, this understanding has passed into contentment. Love, liberty, and time, once so disposable, are the fuels that drive me forward. And love, most especially, mio caro. For you, our children, our brothers and sisters, and for the vast and wonderful world that gave us life and keeps us guessing. Endless affection, mia Sophia. Forever yours, Ezio Auditore.